So good evening everyone. So all of you, have you revised what we have discussed in yesterday's lecture? Okay, so should I ask few questions in the initial part, or should we directly start with this Post-Mauryan Empire, Post-Mauryan period? Not empire. So you want this chronology of this pottery phase, culture based on this pottery. So now tell me which type of pottery you will find. Okay, which type of pottery you will found around the 6th century BC? Everyone, which type of pottery you will find in the 6th century BC? Northern black polished ware. Now tell me which type of pottery is distinguished feature of this later Vedic period. So in later Vedic period, which type of pottery is important? Anyone? Yes, painted gravure pottery, right? So remember, if you consider this Gangetic Valley or Gangetic Plain or North Indian Plain, here in 6th century BC, you will find this northern black polished ware. Before this, in the later Vedic period, you will find this painted gravure pottery. Remember, before that, from 2000 to 1500 BC, from 2000 to 1500 BC, we have this from 2000 to 1500 BC, we have this ochre colored pottery. We have this ochre colored pottery, and after that from 1000 to 1500 to 1000, or in some places after that, after this ochre colored pottery, you will directly see this painted graveware pottery during this later Vedic period, and after this painted graveware pottery you will directly see this northern black polished ware. But in some region after this OCP, ochre color pottery, you have this black and red ware pottery. So remember this sequence in this Ganga Yamuna Doab or this Gangetic Valley or plain in the northern part of India. First we have this ochre color pottery, then black and red ware, then painted graveware pottery, and last is this northern black polished ware. So we have already discussed about this northern black polished ware, which was found in this north part of India around the 6th century BC. In the later Vedic period we have this painted graveware pottery, and remember during this Chalcolithic culture, during this Chalcolithic period in north part of India we have this ochre colored pottery. So in some places we have this ochre colored pottery, then directly painted graveware pottery, and then northern black polished ware. But in some places in between this ochre color pottery and painted graveware pottery we have this black and red ware pottery. So remember this sequence: first ochre color pottery, then black and red ware pottery, then painted graveware pottery, and next is northern black polished ware. Now tell me, this northern black polished ware was used by this common people or this rich people? Common people or rich people? Rich people. Now tell me, in the 6th century BC, if you compare with this later Vedic period, society became more rigid or flexible? Society became more rigid or flexible in the 6th century BC? Society became more rigid. Now tell me, which was this 7th form of marriage under this Manusmriti? Which was the 7th form of marriage in this Manusmriti? Yes, Rakshasa marriage. And 4th form of marriage? 4th form of marriage? 4th form of marriage? Prajapatya marriage. So tell me, whether this Stridhan include inherited property? Whether Stridhan include inherited property? No. Whether Stridhan include immovable property? Whether Stridhan include immovable property? No. Whether these traders or merchants issued some of these Panchmar coins? Traders or merchant issued some of these Panchmar coins? Yes. Whether Shrenis or guilds have their own rules for this administration? Whether they were autonomous institution or not? Shrenis or guilds? Yes, they were autonomous institution. Which was more democratic, monarchy or republics? Means Gana or Sangha. Which was more democratic, monarchy or republics or Sangha? Gana Sangha, right? Gana or Sangha. Now tell me, Brahmanas has this influence, power in monarchy or Gana Sangha? Brahmanas had this power in monarchies or republics? Yes, monarchies. In the republics, Brahmanas did not have any role. Now tell me, this Vaji Sangha is confederacy of how many clans? Vaji Sangha is a confederacy of how many clans? Who is saying 9? Rishikesh. Remember this Malla, M then N, Malla for 9 clan and Vaji for 8 clan. Now tell me about what is about the Shakyagan. Shakyagan, how many clans? So rulers or king belong to how many different clans in the Shakya Gana? Yes, single clan. Single clan. Single clan. So was this famous ruler of Vatsa Mahajanpad? Famous ruler of Vatsa Mahajanpad? Famous ruler of Vatsa Mahajanpad? Udayana was the famous ruler of Vatsa Mahajanpad. Who wrote this Swapna Vasavdat? Who wrote this Swapna Vasavdat? Who wrote this Swapna Vasavdat? Bhasa wrote this Swapna Vasavdat. Ayodhya was capital of which Mahajanpad? Ayodhya was capital of which Mahajanpad? Ayodhya was capital of which Mahajanpad? Okay, Ayodhya was not capital. Ayodhya was part of which Mahajanpad? Ayodhya was part of which Mahajanpad? Ayodhya was part of which Mahajanpad? Kaushal Mahajanpad. Now tell me the river associated with this Ayodhya. River associated with Ayodhya. River associated with Ayodhya. Sharayu river. This Mahajanpad, Kaushal Mahajanpad was bounded by which river? Kaushal Mahajanpad was bounded by which river? Kaushal Mahajanpad was bounded by which river? Gomti and Gandak. Who was this famous ruler of Kaushal Mahajanpad? Who was the famous ruler of Kaushal Mahajanpad? Who was the famous ruler of Kaushal Mahajanpad? Prasenjit was famous ruler of Kaushal Mahajanpad. Now, Kanauj was capital of which Mahajanpad? Kanauj was not capital. Then Kanauj was present in which Mahajanpad? Kanauj was present in which Mahajanpad? Panchala. Tell me the capital of this Panchala. Capital of Panchala. Aichatra. River Godavari is associated with how many Mahajanpad? River Godavari is associated with how many Mahajanpad? River Godavari is associated with which Mahajanpad? Yes, one Mahajanpad, that is Ashmak. Tell me the capital of this Ashmak. Capital of Ashmak. Yes, Potan. If you consider this latest NCERT, they have shown in the map all Mahajanpad approximate area and their capital except one. They have not given this name of this. They have not shown, located this name of Ashmak Mahajanpad. Why? Because some scholars consider this Potan means modern day Bodhan in Telangana. Some consider this is a Pratishthan means Paithan in Maharashtra. Now tell me who wrote this Mrichakatik? Who wrote this Mrichakatik? Who wrote this Mrichakatik? Shudrak wrote this Mrichakatik. Was Shudrak from 6th century BC? Was Shudrak from 6th century BC? Shudrak from 6th century BC? No. Then he belongs to which period? Shudrak belongs to which period? Yes, he belongs to this Gupta period. Now tell me, who wrote this Vartika? Who wrote this Vartika? Who wrote this Vartika? Katayana wrote this Vartika. And who wrote this Mahabhashya? Who wrote this Mahabhashya? Patanjali. Who wrote this Natya Shastra? Who wrote this Natya Shastra? Who wrote this Natya Shastra? Bharat Muni, right? Bharat Muni. So it was earliest text on performing art, and it was also called as fifth Ved or fifth Veda. Now tell me, in Karnataka, where you will find this Ashoka's major rock edict? In Karnataka, where you will find this Ashoka's major rock edict? In Karnataka, where you will find this Ashoka's major rock edict? In Sannati. In Sannati. Now tell me where this Kalsi is located. Where this Kalsi is located. Where this Kalsi is located. Uttarakhand. Now tell me the place where in this minor rock edict 1 you will find the name Ashoka from Madhya Pradesh. Tell me the name from this name of this place from this Madhya Pradesh, where you will find this name Ashoka along with Devanampiya Piyadasi in minor rock edict 1. In minor rock edict 1. Yes, Gujjara in this Madhya Pradesh. Gujjara in Madhya Pradesh. Tell me the name of these places from Karnataka. Tell me the name of the places from Karnataka. Yes, Maski, Nittur and Udegolam. Maski, Nittur and Udegolam. Now tell me, apart from Ashoka's inscription, whose inscriptions are found on this Girnar rock or Junagadh rock? Apart from this Ashoka, whose inscriptions are found in Girnar rock or Junagadh rock? Rudradaman first and Skandagupta. Now tell me, apart from this Ashoka, whose inscriptions you will find on this Allahabad pillar? Whose inscription you will find on this Allahabad pillar? Whose inscriptions you will find on this Allahabad pillar? Yes, Samudragupta and Jahangir. Samudragupta and Jahangir. No one gave a single wrong answer, right? Really great. Well done. No one has given single wrong answer. Okay, you have revised yesterday. Sir, credit goes to you, not me, Ritesh. It is the one, you are the one who are watching this lecture continuously from morning to evening for continuous 2 days. So this result is natural. This is not surprising, but still. So now we will start with this post-Mauryan period. So while discussing about this Mauryan Empire, we have discussed about these 3 important rulers. First is Chandragupta, second Bindusara, and then Ashoka. So we have discussed about this A, B, C. So remember, During the time of this Ashoka, Mauryan Empire covered almost all part of Indian subcontinent except deep south and Assam or Brahmaputra Valley. So except deep south and Assam, Mauryan Empire covered entire part of Indian subcontinent. But if after this Ashoka, we have this Dashrath, and after that there were other successors, and these successors were not that strong. So I already told you, whenever some emperor or this dynasty covered this large part of India, during their declining phase, when their successors were not able to hold this empire, when their successors were not that much strong, then regional rulers start declaring their independence. Similar happened in this post-Mauryan Empire, post-Mauryan period. After this death of Ashoka, after the death of Ashoka, these successors were not that strong and they could not hold this empire intact. So in different parts of India, these different regional rulers started declaring their independence. We have already discussed this. If you consider this northwestern part of India, first Indo-greeks came from the Central Asia. So in northwestern part of India, this Central Asian tribe came. First Indo-greeks, then Shakas, and from this 1st to 3rd century, we have this Kushans. Similarly, if you consider this Gangetic Valley or in the north part of India, this last ruler of Mauryan dynasty, that is Brihadratha, was killed by this Pushyamitra Shunga. So this Pushyamitra Shunga was this commander-in-chief of this Mauryan army, and this Pushyamitra Shunga, who was this Brahmin, he killed this last Mauryan ruler or emperor and started this Shunga dynasty. So this Pushyamitra Shunga, then Agnimitra means his, what I would say, all his successors, means these 12 rulers approximately ruled for this approximately 100 years or 112 years. So in this North India, we have this Shunga, followed by this Kanva dynasty established by this Vasudeva Kanva, and then small ruler till this establishment of Gupta Empire in this 3rd century or this mid 3rd century C. So in this northwest part of India, we have this Indo-greeks, followed by the Shakas, followed by this Kushans. In the north part of India, we have the Shungas ruling parallel to this Indo-Greek, then Kanva dynasty ruling for approximately 50 years, and then small rulers or small families or dynasty. And during the same time, in the central part of India and western India, we have the Satavahanas ruling from the 2nd century BC to this 3rd century CE. Remember, when Satavahanas were ruling from the central India or western part of India, I already told you. Now here you have the Shakas. If you consider in the northwest part of Shaka, first 100 years approximately we have this Indo-Greeks, then for the next 100 years we have the Shakas, but these Shakas have 5 branches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this 4th branch was Shaka, 4th branch of Shakas ruling from this western India. Called as Western Kshatrapas. So from this 1st century to this end of 4th century till this Chandragupta II. So this last ruler of this Western Kshatrapa dynasty was defeated by this Chandragupta II. So from this 1st to 4th century, we have this Western Kshatrapas. So if you consider the central part of India plus Deccan part, and in the western part of India, here we have the Satvahans and then Western Kshatrapas. And throughout this period in the South India, we have this Chola, Cheras and Pandyas. Now tell me, answer me this important question. While discussing about this 6th century BC, we have discussed about these monarchies as well as oligarchies, means republic. And during this time, I told you that these strong monarchies, powerful monarchies have defeated these other monarchies as well as oligarchies or republics. But these republics continued till which period? So these republics in the 6th century, they continued till which period? Yes, till this Gupta period. So remember, I already told you these republics continue for almost 1000 years. So what happens is, whenever some ruler or whenever this empire or dynasty or any kingdom was strong, during this period this republic disappeared or these republics became subordinate ruler. But whenever there is a political vacuum, whenever there is political instability, during this time you will see this emergence of republics. So here also in this post-Mauryan period from 200 BC to 300 CE, during this time as there was political instability, so whenever there is a political vacuum created in this North India, in this Punjab and Haryana, you have this republic Yudhihaz, and in Rajasthan we have this Malwas. You have this Malwas. So remember, I already told you this republics continued till this Gupta period, till this period of this Samudragupta, and during this time in the Punjab and Haryana we have this Yudhihaz, and in this Rajasthan we have this Malwas. Similarly, in this post-Mauryan period we have this emergence of once again this Kalinga. So we have already discussed this Kalinga was part of this Mauryan Empire during this Ashokas, but in the post-Mauryan period, we don't know exactly when they got this independence, but in the post-Mauryan period, in this Kalinga, that is coastal part of Odisha, we have this Chedi Mahameghvahan dynasty. We have this Chedi Mahameghvahanads, and most important ruler of this dynasty was this King Kharvel. So remember, during this post-Mauryan period, from 200 BC or 2nd century BC to this 3rd century CE, in the northwest part of India we have this Indo-Greek, Shakas, then Kushanas. In the north part of India we have this Shungas, Kanvas, and then smaller families. In the coastal part of Odisha, that is Kalinga, we have this Chedi Mahameghvahans. In the some part of northern India like Punjab and Haryana, we have this republics, that is Yudhihaz. At the same time, in the central part of India and western part of India, we have the Satavahanas and western Kshatrapas, and in south part of India, southern part of India, we have this Chola, Cheras and Pandyas. Am I clear to everyone? Is it clear for everyone? Now we will discuss some of these important dynasty and rulers, starting with this Indo-Greek. So I have given this timeline: post-Mauryan India. In northwest we have this Central Asian tribe, North India Shungas, Kanvas, Central and Western India Satavahans and Western Kshatrapas. In the Eastern India, means coastal part of Orissa, we have this Chedi Mahameghvahan dynasty. In the Punjab and Haryana, we have this tribal republic, that is Yudhihaz. Here I have again simplified this timeline from 2nd century to 1st century BC, then 1st century BC, then 1st century to 3rd century BC. So if you go from here, this time period chronologically from earlier to this latest. So here we have this Indo-Greeks, then Shakas, and then Kushanas. So when Indo-Greeks were ruling in the north part of India, we have the Shungas. When Shakas were ruling, we have this Kanvas, and later period of time, for some period of time we also have this Satavahanas, when these rulers were not that strong. In the central part of India, we have this Satavahan, and along with this Satavahan, then we have this Western Kshatrapas. So who were this Western Kshatrapas? This was this fourth branch of Shaka, and during this meantime in the South India we have this Chola, Chera and Pandya. So this is the map I have given. So now we will discuss about this Indo-Greek. So Indo-Greeks were basically ruling from this northwest part of India, and during this time of Indo-Greeks, who were ruling in this northern part of India? Shungas were ruling from this northern part of India. Remember, Indo-Greeks tried to control or tried to establish their rule in this northern part of India, but Pushyamitra Shunga or his son did not allow them. Means they were not, Indo-Greeks were not able to establish their rule in the northern part of India because of this resistance by this Pushyamitra Shunga or Shunga. So in general, in these ancient times, these foreigners were called as Yavan. And if you consider during this time, Patanjali, who composed this Mahabhashya in this 2nd century BC during this time of Shungas, Patanjali was there in the north part of India. So he has mentioned this term Yavan for Indo-Greek. Yavan from Indo-Greek. So in this Indo-Greek, we are discussing about these two important things. First is information about this king Menander, and second is Indo-Greek coins. Indo-Greek coins. So who was this Menander? Menander was basically this Indo-Greek king, and under this influence of Naxen, he embraced this Buddhism, and once he embraced this Buddhism, he became this Milind. And we have already discussed about this conversation between this Menander, that is Milind, and then Naxen. All this was composed by this Naxen in his book Milind Pano, which was written in this Pali language. So this Pali book Milind Pano means questions of Milind. So whatever the questions Menander has asked and the answer given by this Naxen, all are mentioned in this book Milind Pano. And next important is about this Indo-Greek coin. Now tell me, before that we have discussed about this punch mark coins in the 6th century BC. Now tell me, the punch mark coins were made up of mostly copper and silver, and how many punch mark coins you have found made up of gold? Whether you have found some gold coins or many gold coins in the 6th century BC? You did not find gold coins. So remember, these punch mark coins were punched, whether they were inscribed or not. Whether these punch mark coins were inscribed or not. No. So remember, this Indo-Greek coins you will find in the India for the first time inscribed coins. You will find these inscribed coins for the first time. So first time you will find these inscribed coins. Then if you consider these punch mark coins, these were mostly made up of copper and silver, but not gold. So now these Indo-Greek coins were the first time in India coins were issued in gold. So these are these gold coins. So Indo-Greeks were the first to issue these gold coins in India. So for the first time you have these inscribed coins. For the first time you have these gold coins. Now tell me, these punch mark coins, whether they have mentioned this name and image of king. In the punch mark coins, whether you will find this names and image of king. No. So for the first time you will see this name and image of king in this Indo-Greek coins. So remember, in this Indian subcontinent or this India, first time in this Indo-Greek coins, you will see this inscribed coins for the first time. So these Indo-Greek coins were made up of copper, silver and rarely gold. Remember, rarely gold, but these are the first to issue these gold coins. Though rarely, but they have issued these gold coins. So if you get this question, who for the first time issued these gold coins, your answer should be Indo-Greeks. And for the first time you will see this name and image of king. As we can directly see this name and image of king, we can directly say this XYZ coins belong to this XYZ king, or this XYZ coin belong to this XYZ dynasty. So for the first time these coins can be attributed to this particular king or dynasty. So which are these coins? Indo-Greek coins. So Indo-Greeks were the first who issued these coins who issued these inscribed coins. Indo-Greeks were the first who issued these coins made up of gold, and these were the first ruler who mentioned this name and image of coins. So if you get these questions, who issued these gold coins for the first time in India, your answer should be Indo-Greeks. But if you get this question, who issued these gold coins in the large numbers for the first time in India, your answer should be Kushanas. So after this Indo-Greeks, we have the Shakas, and after the Shakas, we have this Kushanas. So remember, Kushanas were the first who issued this large number of gold coins for the first time. So though these Indo-Greeks issued these gold coins for the first time, they have issued very fewer gold coins. So they rarely issued these gold coins, but what is the significance? They were the first to issue these gold coins. So these gold coins were issued in this large number for the first time during this Kushan. But remember, after this Kushan, we have this Guptas, and Guptas were the one who issued this largest number of gold coins in ancient India. So if you get this question, who issued these gold coins for the first time, your answer should be Indo-Greeks. Who issued these gold coins, large number of gold coins for the first time, your answer should be Kushans. And who issued this largest number of gold coins? Your answer should be Gupta period, Gupta Empire. So now tell me, who issued this large number of gold coins for the first time? Who issued this large number of gold coins for the first time? Yes, Kushan. So who issued the gold coins for the first time? Who issued gold coins for the first time? Yes, Indo-Greeks were the first to issue these gold coins, but remember, they have released or they have issued these gold coins rarely, means very few number of gold coins. So first who issued this large number of gold coins were Kushan. But if you compare, the largest number of gold coins were issued by this Gupta, and if you compare this quality of Kushan coins and Gupta coins, these Kushan coins were highest metallic purity. So if you consider this gold coins issued by this Kushan versus Guptas, during this Kushan period, they have issued this highest metallic purity gold coins. And if you see these coins, this front side, that is on the obverse side, you will see this name and image of king, and on the reverse side you will see this Greek gods, then Indian gods. Now tell me, in this Indo-Greek coins, whether you will find this image of Buddha or not. Guess whether you will find this image of Buddha or not. Image of Buddha or not? Who is saying yes? Rushikesh, Megha. Then other members. Ritesh is saying no. So whether you will find this image of Buddha or not? Other member just guess. Tripti is saying yes. Fatima no. No, remember, Indo-Greeks established their rule in the northwest part of India in the 2nd century BC. So you will see these images of Buddha, sculptures of Buddha, Buddha in human form with this emergence of Mahayana Buddhism, and there was formal division of Buddhism into Hinayana and Mahayana in this 1st century CE, during this period of Kushanas, and not during this period of this Indo-Greeks. So during this time of Indo-Greeks, if you see this obverse side, you will see this Indian gods, you will see this Greek gods, and you will see this Buddhist symbol. You will see these Buddhist motifs like elephant, bull, like this. So remember, you will see this image of Buddha for the first time during the time of this Kushana and not during the time of this Indo-Greek. So if you see, this Indo-Greek coins also have some symbols, certain symbols, and we don't know the significance of these symbols. These are called as monograms. And what is important in this Indo-Greek coins? So whatever the points we have discussed till now with respect to this Indo-Greek coins, all these are important, but in this latest NCERT, you will see this Agathoclean coins. Mention about this Agathoclean coins. Agathocles coins. So who are this Agathocles? So Agathocles was this Indo-Greek king, and we have found this Agathocles coins in this Afghanistan, which features on the obverse side we have this god Balaram, who was this brother of Krishna Vasudev, and on the reverse side you will this Vasudev Krishna. On the reverse side you will see this image of Vasudev Krishna, and this is the first known depiction of Krishna anywhere else. So this is the first depiction of Krishna anywhere. So remember, this is the latest addition in this NCERT, Agathocles coin. So who was this Agathocles? Agathocles was this Indo-Greek ruler, and we have found these coins in this Afghanistan. On the obverse side you will see this Balaram, image of Balaram, who was this brother of Vasudev Krishna, and on this reverse side you will see this image of Vasudev Krishna. So this is the first known depiction of Krishna. First known depiction of Krishna. Now tell me, in this ancient time, who issued this largest number of gold coins? Who issued this largest number of gold coins? Who issued this? Yes, Guptas. Who issued these gold coins for the first time? Who issued gold coins for the first time? Now tell me whether my statement is correct or incorrect. Mauryas issued this Panchmark coins made up of gold. Mauryas issued this Panchmark coins made up of gold. Made up of gold. Incorrect. So Mauryas issued this Panchmark coins, but these are not made up of gold. Now tell me my statement is correct or incorrect. On Ashoka's coins or the coins issued by the Ashokas, you will see the name of title or epithet Devanampiya. You will see the name or title or epithet Devanampiya. No, you will see this name and image of the king for the first time under this Indo-Greek coins. So after this Indo-Greeks who ruled for this approximately 100 years from 180 BC to this 85 BC. After that we have this Shakas ruling from this 1st century BC to this 4th century, basically 4th century C. Basically the Shakas in the northwest part of India, they ruled approximately only for this 100 years. But the 4th branch of Shaka called as Western Kshatrapas, they were ruling from this western part of India or this part of Gujarat here. And they ruled from this 1st century C to this 4th century C till this Chandragupta II. So here we are discussing about this 4th branch of Shaka, that is Western Kshatrapas. So basically Western Kshatrapas ruled from 1st century to this 4th century C, and they were covering this modern day part of this Gujarat plus some part of this Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh as well as some part of Maharashtra. Now in this Shaka ruler or this Western Kshatrapa ruler, most important for us is this Rudradaman first. Have we discussed about this Rudradaman first anywhere else before this? Have we discussed about this Rudradaman first? Yes, while discussing about this Junagadh inscription or Girnar inscription. So remember this Rudradaman first or this Rudradaman, he was ruling from this Gujarat. He was a ruler of this Western Kshatrapas from 130 to 150 C, means during this 2nd century C. 2nd century C, and he was this great admirer of Sanskrit. And why he is important for us? Because of this Junagadh rock inscription or this Girnar inscription. So this is first long length inscription issued in the Sanskrit language. So remember, before this most of these long inscriptions were in this Prakrit language, but the Rudradaman was the first who issued this long length inscriptions in this Sanskrit language at Junagadh or Girnar. So if you consider he was the ruler from this 130 to 150 C in the 2nd century, and if you consider this Girnar inscription or this Junagadh rock inscription, it dated back to this Shaka era 72. Shaka era 72. So remember this Shaka era, we will discuss about this. It starts around this 78 C. So if you consider it is 78 years ahead of this Gregorian calendar. So if you consider this in the Gregorian calendar date, 72 plus 78 means approximately 150 to 151 C. So it dated back to this 150 C. And if you consider the language, I already told you this is the first long length inscription in this Sanskrit language. So it is written in this Sanskrit language. And what is it about? This content is about this Sudarshan Lake. So it has mentioned that this Sudarshan Lake originally built during the time of this Chandragupta Maurya by his governor in that region, that is Pushyagupta, and during this time Rudradaman has repaid this lake. Rudradaman has repaid this lake. So remember, this Rudradaman was the one Western Kshatrapa ruler from 130 to 150 C. He was the one who issued this first long length inscription in Sanskrit in India, that is Junagadh inscription. So he has mentioned that this Sudarshan Lake was built during the time of this Chandragupta Maurya by his governor Pushyagupta, and he has repaid this lake. And on the same rock you will see this inscription of Skandagupta. So Skandagupta was this Gupta ruler, and he has mentioned that he has also repaid this lake later. He has also repaid this lake later. So next we will discuss about this Vikram era. What is this Vikram era means? So around this 57 or 58 BCE. Remember this 57 to 58 BC, this king of Ujjain defeated the Shaka ruler and took this title Vikramaditya. So king of Ujjain defeated the Shaka ruler and took this title Vikramaditya, and to commemorate this event he started this Vikram era. Remember, he has defeated the Shaka ruler and started this Vikram era or Vikram Samvat, and this Vikram era, Vikram Samvat or Vikram calendar is used by this most of these Hindus in India as well as Nepal as their calendar. So this national Hindu calendar. So Hindu calendar is based on this Vikram Samvat. Vikram Samvat. So remember, this Vikram Samvat or this Vikram era starts around this 58 to 57 BCE. So we have this Gregorian calendar starts from this year 1. It starts from this 1 C, right? So it starts around this 57 BC, means it starts before this 57, around this 57 BC. 57 BC. So now tell me, who is ahead, Gregorian calendar or Vikram era? Gregorian calendar or Vikram era? Yes, Vikram era. At 1 CE, it has, if you consider this Vikram era, it starts around this 57 BC. So if you consider this 1 C, it comes after this 57 BC. So this Vikram era or this Vikram calendar is ahead of this Gregorian calendar. Gregorian calendar. Now tell me, who wrote this Milinda Panno? Who wrote this Milinda Panno? Yes, Naksen. Now tell me, Vikram era 100. Vikram era 100 means year in this Gregorian calendar. Year in this Gregorian calendar. Okay, everybody keep this answer. We will discuss all this era and I will tell you. So now tell me, yes, who wrote this? Milind Pano? Naksen wrote this, Milind Pano. Who wrote this Mula Madhyamik Karika? Who wrote this Mula Madhyamik Karika? Yes, Nagarjun. Who wrote this Buddha Charit? Yes, Ashwaghosh. So remember, first Indo-Greek rules, then Shakas rule, and after the Shakas we have these Parthians, but most of the time Shakas and Parthians rule parallelly or simultaneously. So after the Shakas we have these Kushans. So basically Kushans were ruling from this 1st century to this 3rd century CE, and most important among this Kushan is we have this Kushan king Kanishk. So who was this Kushan? Kushans were Central Asian tribe, belongs to this Yuchi tribe. And for us, most important ruler was this King Kanishk. So remember, this King Kanishk became this ruler in India around this 78 CE. Around this 78 CE, and he started this Shaka era. He started this Shaka era. He started this Shaka era. So if you consider, this king of Ujjain has defeated this ruler of Shaka and started this Vikram Samvat or Vikram era. This Vikram Samvat was used as a national calendar for this by this Hindus since this ancient time in this India as well as in this Nepal. Similarly here, this Kushan became this emperor or ruler in this 78 CE, and he started this Shaka era. He started this Shaka era. Remember, the Shaka era is used as a calendar by this government of India. So government of India adopted this calendar on 22nd March 1957. So this national calendar of government of India is based on Shaka era. So government of India used this Shaka era along with this Gregorian calendar. So the Shaka era starts around this 78 CE. So remember, this Shaka era lags behind this Gregorian calendar. So first we have this Vikram era, Vikram era around this 57 BC. Then we have this Gregorian. Then we have this Shaka era. So Shaka era starts around this 78 CE. So we have already discussed about this Kanishk while discussing about this 4th Buddhist Council. So I told you this 4th Buddhist Council, during which this Buddhism was divided into Hinayana Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism. It was convened, this 4th Buddhist Council was convened in this Kashmir under this presidency of this Vasumitra. So who was this responsible for this 4th Buddhist Council? King Kanishk. So under this patronage of King Kanishk, 4th Buddhist Council was convened in this Kashmir under this patronage of this, under the patronage of this Kanishk, presided over by this Vasumitra. And in this 4th Buddhist Council, there was division of Buddhism into Hinayana and Mahayana. So remember, Ashoka embraced this Kanishk embraced this Mahayana Buddhism, and he took these efforts to spread this Mahayana Buddhism in northern part like China, then other part of Tibet, Central Asia, in that region. So 4th Buddhist Council. Next, in the court of this Kanishk, we have this Ashwaghosh as well as Charak. So Charak was this physician, and Ashwaghosh, he was also this Buddhist scholar. and we have already discussed about his texts which were composed in this Sanskrit. So while discussing about this Buddhist Sanskrit text, we have discussed about this Ashwaghosh. So who was this Ashwaghosh? Court scholar or this Buddhist in the court of this Kanishk. So he wrote this Buddha Charit, which was biography of Buddha written in this Sanskrit. Then he wrote this Mahalankara, then Sutralankara, then Sundarnanda Mahakavya, then Sariputra Pakaran and Vajrasuchi. So all these texts were written in this Sanskrit. So along with this Ashwaghosh, who was this court scholar during the time of this Kanishk? Charak. Charak was the physician. So like we have already discussed about this Indo-Greek coins, Indo-Greeks were the first who issued these gold coins for the first time. Similarly, this Kanishk or this Kushans were the first who issued this largest number of gold coins. So even if you see this Kushan, during this time they have issued this largest number of gold coins for the first time, but overall Guptas issued this largest number. So they were the first who issued this large number of gold coins for the first time. But if you compare with this Guptas issued this largest number of gold coins. But if you see this metallic purity, this Kushan issued this higher degree of metallic purity than Gupta gold coins. Higher degree of metallic purity than Gupta gold coins. So if you see during this time of Kushan or particularly this Kanishk, on the obverse side, means this front side, you will see this name and image of this king, and on this reverse side you will see this first means Greek gods, then Indian gods, and during this time of Kanishk you will also see this image of Buddha. You will see this image of Buddha. So for the first time the figure of Buddha appeared in these Kanishk coins. So you have to remember this one important inscription, that is Raptak inscription from this Afghanistan, and it provides this information about this genealogy of Kanishk, that is Vansh. So this Kanishk Kushanas continue from this 1st century to this 3rd century C, and then replaced by this Guptas. So if you consider this Kushanas continue till this 5th century C, but these were not that prominent. So basically till this 3rd century C, they were this prominent in this northwest part of India as well as some part of this North India. And after this 3rd century C, they were just have this presence, but these were not powerful, and they continued till this 5th century. But after this Hunas invasion, they completely ended their rule. But in general, you can directly consider they ruled from this 1st century to this 3rd century C, and these were replaced in the north part of India by these Guptas, who were feudatories of Kushan. So is it clear for everyone? Indo-Greek, Shakas and then Kushan. So here you have to remember this Agathocles coins from this recent NCERT. Now we will discuss about the Shungas. So I already told you, in this Gangetic Valley around this 185 BC, this last ruler of this Mauryan Empire, that is Brahidrat, was killed by this Pushyamitra Sunga, who started this Shunga dynasty. This Pushyamitra Sunga was later succeeded by his son, that is Agnimitra. So this Pushyamitra Sunga, he was this follower of this Brahmanism, and he was the one who performed this Ashwamedh and Rajasuya sacrifice. So he was this one who performed this Ashwamedh sacrifice. So he was also called as the one king in this Gangetic Valley who revived this Vedic Brahmanism. So remember, he was the one who was this follower of this Brahmanism, and he revived this Vedic sacrifices. So if you consider the Shungas, when Shungas were ruling in this north part of India, Indo-Greeks were ruling in this northwest part of India. If you consider the text during this time, some of these texts portrayed the Shungas in the positive way, like Kalidas Malvik Agnimitra. And if you consider this Buddhist texts have basically alleged this Pushyamitra Sunga for persecuting these Buddhist and damaging monasteries. So according to this Buddhist text, this Pushyamitra Sunga, he did not support this Buddhism, but he has also persecuted this Buddhist and damaged these monasteries. So but whatever the archaeological evidences we have, this doesn't support this view. Why? See, Pushyamitra Shunga was this follower of Brahmanism. He has revived this Ashwamedh sacrifices, no doubt. He has personally followed this Vedic Brahmanism, but during this time, other school of thought continued to flourish. And what is this evidences we have? If you consider this Bharut and Sanchi Stupa, Bharut and Sanchi Stupa, these were renovated during the time of the Shungas. So though this Buddhist text call this Shunga or alleges this Shunga for persecuting this Buddhist and damaging this monastery, remember among these most important stupas at that time, if you consider this based Bharut, Sanchi, then Sarnath and then Taxila. So these are the stupas which were built during the time of this Maurya, at least initial construction done during this time of Maurya. So basically if you consider this Sanchi and Bharut, so these stupas were renovated during the time of the Shungas. So this Buddhist text alleging this or accuse this Pushyamitra Shunga for destroying these monasteries and persecuting this Buddhists, whatever the archaeologist evidences we have, they have renovated this Bharut and Sanchi stupa. So if you get this question, this text Malvik Agnimitra is about, I already told you, if you don't know, try to divide this word. If it is related to this text or it is related to some school or sub school. So if you see this Malvik Agnimitra, we have this Pushyamitra, his son Agnimitra. So basically this Malvik Agnimitra, which was written by this Kalidas. Kalidas was basically from this Gupta period. So though this was written by this Kalidas during this Gupta period, it talk about this Agnimitra and Pushyamitra. So basically it talk about the Shunga dynasty. It talk about this Shunga dynasty, particularly this Pushyamitra Shunga and then Agnimitra. And next is literature. So remember during this time Pushyamitra Shunga, he revived this Vedic rituals. He followed this Vedic Brahmanism. So during this time Sanskrit emerged as one of this preferred language in this literary work. And during this time, I already told you, Patanjali was living in this north part of India during the time of the Shungas, and Patanjali has composed this Mahabhashya in Sanskrit language. So this Mahabhashya was commentaries on Panini's Ashtadhyayi. So he wrote during this time in Sanskrit language. And this Patanjali, I already told you, he has mentioned this term Yavan for Indo-Greeks. He has also mentioned about this Ashwamedh sacrifices performed by this Pushyamitra Shunga. So remember this Patanjali in this latest NCERT. Earlier some scholar considered that he was from this 2nd century BC. Some scholar considered that he was from 2nd century BC to 3rd century CE. They were not sure, but in the your NCERT, revised NCERT, they have mentioned about this Patanjali under this heading literature during this Shunga period. But like we have discussed about this Agathocles coins while discussing about this Indo-Greeks, now here you have this one important Besnagar pillar inscription. Besnagar pillar inscription. Besnagar means place in this Madhya Pradesh near to this Vidisha. So who issued this Besnagar pillar inscription? Remember this name, Heliodorus. So who was this Heliodorus? He was this Greek ambassador in this Shunga. Greek ambassador to this Shunga court, and he was worshipper of Vasudev Krishna. So he was worshipper of this Vasudev Krishna, means he was following this Vaishnavism. So during this time, post-Mauryan time, we have this emergence of Shaivism, worshipping the Shiva, and emergence of Vaishnavism, means worshipping this Krishna or Vishnu. So he was this worshipper of Vasudev Krishna, and he has erected this pillar at Besnagar near Vidisha. Near Vidisha, not Odisha, near Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh. And remember, during this time, I already told you, during this time Sanskrit was important, but this Besnagar pillar inscription was written in this Prakrit language, and in this inscription he called this Vasudev Krishna as God of Gods. He called this Vasudev Krishna as a God of Gods, and he mentioned in this inscription 3 steps to immortality that when practiced lead to this heaven. Which are these three types? Remember this: Comptroller and Auditor General of India, CAG, C for control, A for attention, and G for generosity. If someone is following these three things, control, attention and generosity, then he will go to this heaven. So remember this base Nagar pillar inscription. Is it clear for everyone? Remember this pillar was Garud pillar. Garud pillar means, and at the end of this pillar, top of the pillar, you will have this bird Garud. Garud, which is considered as vehicle or Vahan of this Vishnu. So basically this pillar was dedicated to this Vishnu because he was this follower of this Vaishnavism or follower of this Vasudev Krishna. And in this inscription, he has mentioned this Vasudev Krishna as a god of God. He has also mentioned this 3 steps to immortality, but most important to remember, this inscription was in this Prakrit language. So during this time of the Shunga period, which was this most important language for this literary text? Sanskrit. But this inscription was issued in this Prakrit language. Now tell me, on which coin you will see first time the image of Vasudev Krishna? On which coin you will see the image of Vasudev Krishna for the first time? Who is saying Gupta? We have just seen this Agathocles coin, right? On this Agathocles coins, on the obverse side we have this Balaram, brother of this Krishna, and on the reverse side we have this Krishna Vasudev or Vasudev Krishna. On this Agathocles coin, who issued this base Nagar pillar inscription? Who issued this base Nagar pillar inscription? Who issued this base Nagar pillar inscription? Yes, Heliodorus issued this base Nagar pillar inscription. Who was this Heliodorus? Who was this Heliodorus? Yes, he was this Greek ambassador in the Shunga court. So he was this follower of Shiva or Krishna Vasudev. He was the follower of Shiva or Krishna Vasudev. Krishna Vasudev. Who wrote this Hammir Mahakavya? 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 Yes, Naichandra Suri wrote this Hammir Mahakavya. Who wrote this Parishisht Parvan? Who wrote this Parishisht Parvan? Who wrote this Parishisht Parvan? Yes, Hemachandra Suri. So now we have discussed about this Shungas. Before this we have discussed about this Indo-Greek, Shakas, Kushanas in the northwest. Then in the North India we have discussed about the Shungas. So Shungas basically ruled for approximately 100 years, like 112 years. And after this was replaced by this Vasudev Kanva, who started this Kanva dynasty. And after this Kanva dynasty, we have this small dynasties till this emergence of this Gupta period. Now, during this time, in this post-Mauryan period, in this Kalinga or this coastal part of Orissa, we have this emergence of King Kharvel. So basically during this time there was emergence of this Chedi Mahamegwahan dynasty, and the third ruler of this Chedi Mahamegwahan dynasty was this Kharvel. So King Kharvel was this third ruler of this Chedi Mahamegwahan dynasty. So during this time of this Maurya Ashoka, this Kalinga was part of this Mauryan Empire, but we don't know when they got this independence. But in the post-Mauryan period, we have this emergence of Chedi Mahamegwahan dynasty in this Kalinga. So in this third ruler was this King Kharvel. So this King Kharvel was this follower of Jainism. He was this follower of Jainism, and for this Jain monk, he has excavated these caves. He has excavated these cave shelters in this Udaygiri Khandgiri hills. In Udaygiri Khandgiri hills near Bhubaneswar. So remember this Udaygiri hills. Udaygiri hills or this Udaygiri caves in this Odisha. These were excavated by this King Kharvel. So remember, he was this follower of the Jainism, and for this Jain monk to reside them, he has excavated these caves in this Udaygiri Khandgiri hills in the Odisha, and one of this cave is called as Elephant Cave or Hathi Gumpha inscription. Elephant Cave. Elephant means Hathi, cave means cave. So we have Guha or Gumpha. So we have this Hathi Gumpha inscription. It was authored by this King Kharvel. King Kharvel. Remember, this inscription did not have this date. It is without date. No date. It is without date. But if you consider this Rudradaman inscription, this Rudradaman inscription belongs to this 72 Shaka era. 72 Shaka era. So 72 plus 78 means approximately 150 CE. But here we have this King Kharvel inscription in this Hathi Guha cave, that is Elephant Cave or Hathi Guha, called as Hathi Guha inscription. It was without date, authored by this King Kharvel, but it provide you this year-wise information of this first 13 years. It gives year-wise account of his rule till this first 13 years. First 13 years. Remember, it is without date. It lacks a date. So now, after this Kalinga King Kharvel, that is emergence of this Chedi Mahamegwahan in this Kalinga, we have this emergence of tribal republics. So I already told you, in Punjab and Haryana we have this Yudhas, and in the Rajasthan we have this Malwas. So whenever there is a political vacuum or this ruler was weak, you will see this emergence of republics. So if you consider during this time of Kushan, whenever this Kushanas Empire reached to this north part of India, covered this north part of India, during this time they get disappeared. But once again, after this decline of this Kushanas, after this decline of this Indo-greeks, whenever they get this opportunity, you will see this emergence of these republics or Gana. So this finally were defeated by this Gupta ruler Samudragupta in this 4th century CE. So till this 4th century CE, from the 6th century BC, we continue to have this republics or Gana Sangha. So till now, is there any confusion for anyone? So remember, we are discussing only those points which are important for your exam. So fast tell me, who issued these gold coins for the first time? Who issued these gold coins for the first time? Indo-greeks. Who issued this Besnagar pillar inscription? Who issued this Besnagar pillar inscription? Heliodorus. Heliodorus issued this Besnagar pillar inscription. Tell me the language of this Besnagar pillar inscription. Language of this Besnagar pillar inscription. Prakrit language. Tell me this language of Rudradaman inscription. Junagadh inscription issued by Rudradaman. Junagadh inscription issued by Rudradaman. Tell me the language. Yes, Sanskrit language. where you will see this image of this Krishna Vasudev for the first time. Krishna Vasudev for the first time. Agathocles coins. So who mentioned this Vasudev Krishna as a god of gods? Who mentioned this Vasudev Krishna as a god of gods? Who issued this large number of gold coins for the first time? Large number of gold coins for the first time. Question: during which time you will see this image of Buddha for the first time in this coin? During which period you will see this image of Buddha for the first time on these coins? So Kushans were the first ruler in India who issued these inscribed coins for the first time. Is it correct? In India. Kushans were the ruler in India who issued these inscribed coins for the first time. No, Indo-Greek, right? So now we are going to discuss about this. So till now we have discussed about this Indo-Greek, Shakas, Kushanas from this northwest. Then we have discussed about this north part of India. Who was ruling from this north part of India? Shungas, Kanwas, and then small dynasty. Then we have discussed about this emergence of tribal republics, that is Yudhas in Punjab, Haryana, and Malwas in this Rajasthan. Then we have discussed about this Chedi Mahamegwan dynasty, that is King Kharvel. Now tell me, King Kharvel was follower of Buddhism, Jainism, Ajivika sect. King Kharvel was the follower of Jainism. Where you will find this inscription of King Kharvel? Where you will find this inscription of King Kharvel? Yes, Hathiguha inscription. Hathiguha means in this Udagiri Khandgiri hills in Odisha. We have this Udaygiri hills in Madhya Pradesh also, but this belongs to this Gupta period, particularly this Chandragupta II, remember. And this Udaygiri hills is basically near to this Bhubaneswar in Odisha. Now we are going to discuss about this Satavahan. So basically Satavahans were ruling from this 2nd century BC to this 3rd century CE from this Deccan region. So here we have this Satavahan. At the same time we have this Western Kshatrapas ruling from this western part of India, covering this majority part of Gujarat, then some part of Sindh, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. So if you consider, during this time of Maurya, we have this feudal trees, that is Rathikas and Bhojikas or Bhojas. So we have this feudal trees in this Maharashtra, that is Rathikas and Bhojas, and this ruler Satavahan, most of the scholars consider that he was either from this Rathikas and Bhojas, and his son, that is Simukh. His son, that is Simukh, was the first ruler who declared this independence and started this Satavahan dynasty. So remember this Simukh, who was this Brahmin ruler, he declared this independence from this Mauryan Empire. So during this declining phase of this Mauryan Empire, he declared the independence and started this Satavahan dynasty. So basically this Satavahan dynasty ruled from 2nd century BC to this 3rd century CE. So in the initial part, this Simukh was only ruling from this some part of Maharashtra, particularly this Paitan, present in this Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar district or in this Aurangabad district. So in this Aurangabad district, we have this Paitan. At that time, it was called as Pratishthan. So initial capital was Pratishthan and later capital was from this Andhra Pradesh, that is Dhanyakatak. Dhanyakatak means present day Amravati. So initially when Simukh started establish this Satavahan dynasty, he was basically ruling from this Pratishthan or Paitan, and later the capital shifted to this Dhanyakatak or Amravati. So during this peak period, they were controlling this part of Deccan, modern day Maharashtra, some part of Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, as well as northern part of Karnataka. So you just have to remember information about this, some important ruler. First of all, who was this founder? Founder was not Satavahan, but founder was his son, that is Simukh. Then you have to remember some of this important ruler of this Satavahan. So who was this first ruler? First ruler was this Simukh, who was the second ruler? Krishna or Kana was the second ruler, and the most important ruler for now is this Satkarni first. Who was this? Son of Simukh. So remember, he was this third ruler. So first you have this Simukh, then you have this Krishna or Kana, or third you have this Satavahan, and then you have to remember the 17th ruler, that is King Hala, and after that you have to remember these three important ruler in this sequence. You don't have to remember the number, but you have to remember this sequence. Gautami Putra Satkarni, Vashishta Putra Pulmavi or Pulmai, and then Yajneshri Satkarni. So Gautami Putra Satkarni, Vashishta Putra Pulmai, and then Yajneshri Satkarni. So before that we have this King Hala, who was the 17th ruler, and first one was Simukh, second one was this Krishna or Kana, and third one was Satkarni first. Why Satkarni first is important? Because in this latest revised NCERT they have mentioned about this Naneghat inscription. Naneghat inscription, which talk about this achievement of Satkarni first. So remember, now you have to remember this important king. First was this Simukh, second was Krishna or Kana, and third ruler was the son of Simukh, that is Satkarni first. And we have one important inscription about this Satkarni first, that is Naneghat inscription. Then who was the 17th ruler? King Hala. Then you have to remember these three important ruler: Gautami Putra Satkarni, Vasishta Putra Pulmavi or Pulmai, and then Yajneshri Satkarni. So here we have this Naneghat inscription, and we have this Nashik inscription talk about this Gautami Putra Satkarni. Nashik inscription. Both are from this Maharashtra region. Both are from this Maharashtra region. So this Nashik inscription, which talk about this Gautami Putra Satkarni, which provide this information about Gautami Putra Satkarni, was issued by this mother of Gautami Putra Satkarni, that is Gautami Balashri. But this inscription, Naneghat inscription, which provide us the information about this Satkarni first, was issued by this queen. So this widow or queen of this Satkarni first. So we will discuss in subsequent slides. So if you consider, Samukh was this first ruler who started this Satavahan dynasty. Then we have this, remember this King Hala, who was the 17th king. Why this King Hala is important? Because of his important text, that is Gatha Saptasati. Saptasati in the sense 700. So what is this Gatha Saptasati? It is a collection of poem, and remember the theme of the poem was love. Collection of poem mostly based on this theme of love, and it was in this Prakrit language, that is Maharashtra Prakrit. Maharashtri Prakrit. And why it is called as Saptasati? Means why it is called as 700? Because it consists of this 700 verses. 700 verses in the form of Gatha, means in the form of story. So this is called as Gatha Saptasati. So it is a book which consists of these poems, approximately 700 verses, written by this King Hala in this Maharashtra Prakrit. Maharashtri Prakrit. So if you consider this Satavahan versus Western Kshatrapa, because they were ruling this parallelly or simultaneously. So when this Gautami Putra Satkarni was ruling from this Deccan part, at the same time in this western part, that is part of Gujarat, you have this Western Kshatrapa ruler Nahapana. We have this Western Kshatrapa ruler Nahapana, and Gautami Putra Satkarni defeated this Mahapana, defeated this Western Kshatrapa ruler, and established the supremacy of this Satavahan. So he was called as first revival of this Satavahan. And I already told you, we have one important inscription which give us the information about this Gautami Putra Satkarni, which is present in this Nashik. That is Nashik inscription issued by his mother, that is Gautami Balashri. So after this Gautami Putra Satkarni, we have this Vashishta Putra Pulmai. So remember this one important information about this Vashishta Putra Pulmai. We have found this coins, Satavahan coins, for the first time in the region of Andhra, which was issued by this Vashishta Putra Pulmai. He was the earliest Satavahan ruler whose coins were found in this Andhra. Means he was the Satavahan ruler who conquered this Andhra. So he has conquered this region of Andhra, and here in this region of Andhra, he has repaid or he has expanded this Amravati Stupa. Amravati means at that time Dhanya Katak. we have already discussed during this time. In the initial part, this Pratishthan or this Paitan was the capital. In the later period, this Amravati was capital, means Dhanyakatak was this capital. So during this time of this Vasishthaputra Pulyami, he has extended this rule in this Andhra region. And during this time, if you consider in this Deccan region, Vasishthaputra Pulmai was the Satavahana ruler, and in this Saurashtra, in this Gujarat or western part, we have this Rudradaman first. So Rudradaman first has defeated two times to this Vasishthaputra Pulmai, but he did not kill him. Why? Because of this matrimonial alliance. And next you have to remember this Yajnashri Satkarni. Yajnashri Satkarni. So during this time of Gautamiputra Satkarni, he has defeated this western Kshatrapa ruler Nahapana. Next time, during this time of Vasishthaputra Pulmai, Rudradaman has defeated this Vasishthaputra Pulmai. Now once again during this time of Yajnashri Satkarni, he has defeated this western Kshatrapa ruler, and this is considered as second revival of Satavahan. But most important information about this Yajnashri Satkarni is, during this time in his coins you will see this image of ship, representation of ship. What it indicates? It indicates his love for overseas trade or navigation. Love for his overseas trade or navigation. So remember, we have this Gautamiputra Satkarni, Vasishthaputra Pulmai, and then Yajnashri Satkarni. So this first defeated this western Kshatrapa ruler, but during the second time Rudradaman defeated this Vasishthaputra Pulmai, and in the third time once again he defeated this western Kshatrapa ruler. So remember, this middle, that is Vasishthaputra Pulmai, he was the one who expanded rule to this Andhra region, and during this time he has repaired this Amravati Stupa or Stupa at Dhanyakatak. Next, decline of Satavahan. So basically Satavahan ruled from the 2nd century to this 2nd century BC to this 3rd century C. Remember, during the time of this Satavahan, they were covering this large part in this Deccan region. So they were covering this modern part of Maharashtra. Along with this, they were covering some part of this Gujarat, then Madhya Pradesh, then part of this Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and northern part of this Karnataka. So during this declining phase, once again the regional ruler in this different part of India, they declared their independence and they established their rule. So most important successor of this Satavahana were Vakatakas. So I already told you. So in the North India, after this period, post-Mauryan period, in the North India we have this Guptas. I already told you, when Guptas were ruling from this North India, who was ruling from this Deccan? Vakatakas. So Vakatakas were successor of this Satavahan. So these Guptas have their capital at Patliputra, and these Vakatakas have this capital at Nagpur in this Maharashtra. So major successors were Vakatakas, and in this region of Andhra we have this Ikshwaku dynasty, also called as Andhra Ikshwaku. So in this Krishna river, Krishna Guntur region, in this Godavari Krishna delta or this Krishna river valley, in this region, in the present part of this Andhra Pradesh, we have this Ikshwaku dynasty or Andhra Ikshwaku. So remember, major successor of this Satavahan in this Deccan region was this Vakataka dynasty or Vakatakas. So now we are going to discuss about these two important inscriptions. Among these two, we already know about this Nashik inscription, but now in this latest NCERT, we have information about this Naneghat inscription. So this Naneghat inscription records this achievement of Satkarni first. Satkarni first, and it was issued by this widow queen of this Satkarni first, that is Queen Naganika. So Queen Naganika, who was this widow of this Satkarni first, she issued this Naneghat inscription, and in the Naneghat inscription he has mentioned about this achievement of Satkarni first. He has mentioned about this Ashwamedh sacrifice and Rajasuya sacrifice. So Ashwamedh and Rajasuya was performed by this Satkarni first. Remember, she has also mentioned that these priests who were presiding over these sacrifices, they were given different gifts, and one of these gifts was land or village. Remember, one of the gift was land or village. That's why we have found this inscription in this Naneghat. They have mentioned that land was given to this Brahmana. Similarly, if you consider this Nashik inscription, which was issued by this Gautami Balashri, who was mother of this Gautami Putra Satkarni, she has also mentioned that this Gautami Putra Satkarni, he has given this land to this Buddhist monk. So basically we have this evidences, inscriptional evidences during the time of this Western Kshatrapas or Satavahanas about this land grants to Brahmanas and Buddhists. So remember, land grants, we in general consider that these land grants to Buddhist or Brahmanas were given during the time of this Western Kshatrapa or Satavahanas from this early century C. So how we know about this? We know about this from this Naneghat inscription and then Nashik inscription. Nashik inscription. Now tell me, is there any problem till now? We have discussed in too much detail. No break now. Rishikesh, we will complete this, no break now. So we will start with this family structure. So if you consider this name, Gautami Putra Satkarni, Vasishtha Putra Pulmai, then Yajneshri Satkarni. So if you see in their name, there is, these names were derived from this mother. So this is called as metronymics. This is called as metronymics. Gautami Putra, Vasishtha Putra. So Gautami Baleshri was the mother of this Gautami Putra Satkarni. So his name came from this mother. So this is called as metronymics. So these rulers were identified through this metronymics, means names were derived from that of mother. But remember, though this Satavahanas ruler showed this matrilineal influence as names were derived from this name of this mother, but remember the society during this time was patriarchal, patrilineal and patrilocal. So this was patriarchal and it was patrilineal as well as patriarchal. Remember, though during this time they derived their name from this mother, that is metronymics, or these were influenced by this matrilineal influence, but society was patriarchal as well as patrilineal. Next, during this time I already told you, they started giving this land grants to this Brahmanas and Buddhist. Then religion. So they were these Brahmanas, so they performed these Vedic sacrifices. So during this time they personally followed this Brahmanism, but during this time Satavahana ruler also promoted this other religion and different school of thought also emerged. So basically during this time they also promoted this Buddhism. So we have these evidences. During this time, two important sites were flourishing, and we have these stupas also, which are these Nagarjun Konda and then Amravati. So during this time, these were two important Buddhist center. So remember, this Nagarjun Konda means at that time Vijaypuri. Vijaypuri was later called as Nagarjun Konda because this Nagarjun, whatever we have discussed yesterday, the founder of this Madhyamaka school, Nagarjun, was lived there. That's why this Vijaypuri was called as Nagarjun Konda. Remember this Dhanyakatak. So during this time, this Dhanyakatak and Vijaypuri were important Buddhist center, and we have already discussed Gautami Putra Satkarni, Vasishtha Putra Pulmai and Yajneshri Satkarni. So this middle, that is Vasishtha Putra Pulmai, he has repaired this Amravati Stupa. He has repaired this Amravati Stupa. Similarly, in the western part of India, in this Maharashtra, during this time, many Buddhist rock-cut caves like Chaityas and Viharas were constructed during this time. So remember, though they have personally followed this Brahmanism, they have also promoted this Buddhism. So we have this Dhanyakatak, important Buddhist site. So Dhanyakatak was later capital of Satavahan also, and present day it covers this Dharanikota and Amravati. So it was an important center of Mahasangika school. Remember, we in the second Buddhist council we have discussed Buddhism was divided into Sthavirvadins and Mahasangika. So this Dhanyakatak was important Mahasangika school, and this Amravati Stupa, though it was initially constructed during the time of this Maurya Empire, expansion took place during this period of Satavahan. during the period of Satavahan. So is it clear for everyone? Satavahans? Rishikesh, just wait for 5 minutes. So is it clear for everyone? Now tell me, during this time of Satavahan, whether society was patrilineal or matrilineal? Whether society was patrilineal or matrilineal? Yes, society was patrilineal. Society was patrilineal. Matriarchal or patriarchal? Everybody has to give answer. Matriarchal or patriarchal? Yes, patriarchal. Which inscriptions provide this information about this Satkarni first? Which inscription provide this information about Satkarni first? Yes, Naneghat, not Nanighat. Naneghat inscription provide this information about Satkarni first. Who issued this inscription? Who issued this inscription? Yes, Queen Naganika. Queen Naganika. So earliest evidences, inscriptional evidences of land grants to these Brahmanas and Buddhists came from which period? Came from which period? Yeah, I am providing you this. Malvika, you have this PPTs, right? I am also providing you the notes tomorrow, but you also have this PPTs. Why to worry? Generally, Malvika, generally this post-Mauryan period is not important for UPSC. I am taking in this revision batch because there are some additions. Like I told you, this Akatoclin coins was this addition. Then this Besnagar pillar inscription was this addition. Then this Naneghat was addition. Naneghat inscription. Then they have mentioned about this Patanjali for the first time in the Shunga period. That's why I have taken this chapter. In general, this is not important post-Mauryan period. And most important, most of those you who are attending this live lectures, you are interested in this. That's why we are taking in this detail. So it is not because of me, it is because of you. So we have discussed about this Satavahan. I already told you Satavahan basically ruled from the 2nd century BC to this 3rd century CE. And after this Satavahan, not immediately after this, but during this declining phase, this regional ruler declared their independence. So their major successors, we have this Vakatakas in this Deccan, but remember in this Andhra Pradesh region, that is Krishna Guntur region, we have this Ikshwaku, also called as Andhra Ikshwaku. So basically they ruled from this 3rd century to this 4th century from this Vijaypuri. So the capital was Vijaypuri and it was later renamed as Nagarjun Konda because of this Nagarjun, who was this founder of this Madhyamika school, who wrote this Mula Madhyamik Karika and Pradnya Paramit Karika. So who was this founder of this Ikshwaku dynasty or Andhra Ikshwaku? Remember this Vasishthaputra Chamtamula. So this Vasishthaputra Chamtamula was the founder of this Andhra Ikshwaku, and this Andhra Ikshwaku continued, or this Ikshwaku continued from this 3rd century to this 4th century, and they were ruling from this Vijaypuri or Nagarjun Konda. So one important, not that important, but this epic thing about this, during this period, there was gender division of patronage, means king supported this Brahmanism and queen supported this Buddhism. So remember, during this time of Satavahan, both Amravati and Nagarjunakonda are important Buddhist center. During the time of this Andhra Ikshvaku also, Amravati and Nagarjunakonda were important. But Amravati was more important during this Satavahan and Nagarjunakonda was more important during this Andhra Ikshvaku. So if you consider this Nagarjun, who was founder of this Madhyamika school, so he was lived in this region from 2nd century CE. So during this 2nd century CE, Nagarjuna was living in this region and he was this Mahayana Buddhist philosopher, founder of this Madhyamaka school, and he has given this doctrine of Shunyayat, philosophy of Shunyayat in his work Mulla Madhyamik Karika. We have already discussed about this Nagarjuna. So based on this Nagarjuna, this Vijaypuri was later renamed as Nagarjunakonda. So next we will discuss about this Vakataka dynasty. So I already told you Vakataka dynasty, Vakatakas were major successor of this Satavahan in the region of Deccan. And who was this founder of this Vakataka dynasty? Vindhya Shakti. Founder was Vindhya Shakti, and they continued to rule. This Vakatakas continued to rule from this 3rd to this 5th century CE. 3rd to 5th century CE, and they ruled over this part of Deccan. So now tell me, when Vakatakas were ruling over this Deccan, who was ruling in this north part of India? Who was ruling in this north part of India? Yes, Guptas were ruling in this north part of India. Make small correction here. Vakatakas were ruling from this 3rd century to the 6th century. So we have this Guptas from mid 3rd century to mid 6th century. So these Vakatakas were parallel from mid 3rd century to this early 6th century, not this 5th century. So they continued parallelly till this Gupta, means end, almost till this end of this Gupta period. So till this early 6th century. Early 6th century. And they were contemporary of this Gupta, but you just have to remember this single fact about this Vakatakas. So what is this? If you consider this Chandragupta II, who was ruling from this north part of India, his daughter Prabhavati Gupta. Prabhavati Gupta. So this Prabhavati Gupta was married to this Vakataka prince Rudrasen II. So this Prabhavati Gupta was married to this Rudrasen II, and after the death of this Rudrasen II, Prabhavati Gupta was ruling on the behalf of his son in this Deccan region with the help of this officers or administrator sent by this Chandragupta II. So basically during this time, this indirectly who was ruling in this Deccan region? Chandragupta II. So this Chandragupta II has this daughter Prabhavati Gupta. So this Prabhavati Gupta married to this Vakataka prince Rudrasen II, and after the death of this Rudrasen II, this Prabhavati Gupta was ruling in this part of Deccan with the help of administrator sent by his father Chandragupta II. And this played an important role, as Chandragupta II has this indirect rule over this part of Deccan. This played an important role in defeating this last ruler of this Western Kshatrapa. So basically during the time of this Chandragupta II, he has defeated this Western Kshatrapa ruler, last ruler of this Western Kshatrapa dynasty, and he has ended this Western Kshatrapa dynasty. So basically this control over this Deccan played an important role. Now changes in this post-Mauryan period. So remember during this time, what happened? This Vedic rituals continued to hold the importance, but now there was shift towards this worship of personal deities, that is bhakti. So some people were worshipping this Shiva, that is Shaivism, and some people were worshipping this Vishnu, that is Vaishnavism. So you have this Shiva, then Vishnu, Shaivism, Vaishnavism, and during this time period there was emergence of these 6 Vedic philosophies. So which are this philosophy? Sankhya philosophy, Yoga philosophy, Nyaya philosophy, Vaisheshika philosophy, Purva Mimamsa, and then Uttar Mimamsa or Vedanta. Remember, these Vedas were written during this Vedic, not written but composed during this Vedic period. Rig Veda was composed in this early Vedic period and other Vedas were composed in this later Vedic period. But this Vedic philosophies belongs to this post-Vedic period. So this Vedic philosophies were particularly developed in this post-Mauryan period. And which are these? These are the 6 schools of Vedic philosophy, also called as 6 schools of this 6 orthodox school. So here you just have to remember the founder of this 6 school. So if you consider the Sankhya philosophy given by this sage Kapil, Yoga philosophy given by this Patanjali, Nyaya philosophy given by this Gautam, Vaisheshika philosophy given by this sage Kanad Muni, sage Kanad or Kanad Muni, then this Mimamsa philosophy given by this sage Jaimini, and then Vedanta or Uttar Mimamsa given by this sage Badrayana. So how to remember these names? Remember this Nyaya. Nyaya means something logical. Oh, so who was this rationalist in this ancient time? We know Gautam Buddha was this rationalist. So remember, on that part you can link this with this Nyaya philosophy. So this Nyaya philosophy was given by this Gautam. So everyone knows about this Patanjali related to this yoga. So yoga philosophy was given by Patanjali. So we know about this Kanad Muni, which talk about this atom. So this Vaisheshika philosophy was given by this Kanad Muni. So remember this Sankhya philosophy, which is this oldest among these 6. It was given by this sage Kapil. Then Yoga philosophy given by Patanjali, Nyaya philosophy given by this sage Gautam, Vaisheshika philosophy given by this sage Kanad, Mimamsa, sage Jaimini, and then Vedanta. Remember this Vedanta was given by this Badrayana, and Vedanta, Upanishad are also called as Vedanta. So according to this Vedanta philosophy, you will get the salvation if you have this knowledge of Atman means individual soul and Brahman means universal soul. If you have this knowledge of Atman and Brahman means individual soul and universal soul, and if you know the relationship between them, if you get this knowledge, then you will get this salvation. So this is according to this Vedanta philosophy, and all these 6 schools or 6 philosophies were developed in this post-Mauryan period from 200 BC to 300 CE. Now whatever the sub schools now we are discussing about this Vedanta philosophy, these are from this medieval period. Medieval period. So remember, in between we have discussed about this medieval period. Don't confuse with this chronology. While discussing about these different rules of inheritance and all during the 6th century BC, we have connected this part with this Mitakshara and Dayabhaga. So who wrote this Mitakshara? Tell me. Who wrote this Mitakshara? Yes, Mitakshara was written by this Vijnaneshwar. So now these are these 3 sub-schools of Vedanta philosophy. So based on this Vedanta philosophy, which talk about this individual soul and universal soul, Atman and Brahman, these 3 important philosophers from this medieval period, that is Adi Shankaracharya from 9th century, then Ramanujacharya from this 12th century, and Madhvacharya from this 13th century. We have given these different philosophies based on this Vedanta philosophy. So there are 3 sub-schools of Vedanta philosophy. Adi Shankaracharya has given this Advaita, Madhvacharya has given this Dvaita, and Ramanujacharya given this Vishishtadvaita. So according to this Adi Shankaracharya, who has given this Advaita, Dvaita means 2 or dualism, Advaita or Advaita means absence of dualism, means according to this Adi Shankaracharya, this individual soul or this universal soul means Atman and Brahman are one. So he has given this Advaita. And according to this Adi Shankaracharya, knowledge or Gyan is this best mean of salvation. So next we have this Vishishtadvaita. So Vishishtadvaita philosophy was given by this Ramanujacharya. According to this Ramanujacharya, this Atman and Brahman, they are some part of this is common, like they are dependent on each other but they are also separated. So they are same but they are also separated, and this Ramanujacharya is associated with this Bhakti movement in this early medieval period. So according to this Ramanujacharya, this devotion or loving faith to God is this best mean of salvation. So remember, according to this Adi Shankaracharya, knowledge or Gyan is the best mean of salvation. According to this Ramanujacharya, devotion or loving faith to God is the best mean of salvation. And then this Madhvacharya has given this Dvaita philosophy. So according to this Madhvacharya, both Atman and Brahman are completely separate. And how to get this salvation? Renunciation, devotion, and direct cognition of Lord through meditation. So this is the best mean of salvation: renunciation, devotion, and direct cognition of God through this meditation. So these are required to get this salvation. So remember, in this 6 Vedic philosophy, you just have to remember the name of this philosophy and their founder. And here, for this sub schools of this Vedanta, you have to remember this name of this sub school, founder of this sub school, along with how to get this salvation. So according to this Adi Shankaracharya, knowledge or gyan is the best mean of salvation. According to this Ramanujacharya, who gave this Vishishtadvaita philosophy, devotion or this loving faith is the best mean of salvation. And according to this Madhvacharya, renunciation, devotion, and direct cognition of God through this meditation. So during this time, we have already discussed emergence of Mahayana Buddhism. So Buddhism was divided into Hinayana and Mahayana. At the same time, there was division of Jainism took place during this time, Digambar and then Shwetambar schools or sect. So till now, is it clear for everyone? Okay, now take this 5 minutes of break, only 5 minutes of break, not more than 5 minutes. So should we start this next chapter, that is Gupta Empire? See, you may be seeing me for this maybe 10 hours or 12 hours during these lectures, but this is not only the work of this 12 hours. So our team is continuously working behind the scene to prepare this exam oriented content, to prepare this exam oriented PPTs, then after this PPTs to prepare these notes, handwritten notes, and after that we are starting this digital notes also. So it's not just about this 10 to 12 hours. So our team is continuously working in order to provide you the best content, and in order to provide you the best content with this most simple and clear language, with this crystal clear explanation, I have also worked for this last 1 week. So this class where you are just seeing this 10 or 12 years of lectures, this is not only about this 10 or 12 years, 10 or 12 hours. So we have worked hard to provide you this best possible content with this crystal clear explanation. So we are giving our best for you. I expect the same from you. So for this next 1 month, don't do anything apart from your exam preparation. So just give your best. We are giving our best for you, so you should also give your best for us. So remember, even we have charged this 99 rupees, right? The objective is not get this revenue. How we are getting this revenue? If you consider the cost of this entire setup, team, this AC room, entire this studio and all, this cost is not to get this profit, not to get this revenue, but the only purpose of this 99 rupees is to eliminate this non-serious students. Because if it is made available or free for all, then many people from this other social media and all, they join this channel, they comment something irrelevant which is not restricted to our syllabus and all this thing. Just to avoid that and just to get the serious aspirants enrolled, we have kept this price of 99. So remember, only objective of this revision batch is to help you and to give the best possible content with this best possible way. So now we have given our best, now it's up to you. So you should give your best. I have already given my WhatsApp number, I have already given my Telegram ID. It is already available in our Telegram channel. So if you have any doubt, at any time you can message me. We will clear your doubt. I have already released this year-wise MCQs. I have already released this practice MCQs. I have already released this PYQs chapter-wise for history, as well as we have done for this polity. So we have done from our side. It's up to you. Now you have to make these resources in best possible way. In this optimum utilization of resources you have to do and give your best result. So please give your best. Then this is a real, what I would say, gift from your side to me. So you will have this exam on Sunday test. So whatever we have discussed from this ancient history as well as this early medieval history, you will have this test practice. You can practice this or you can directly give this like a test on this Sunday. So now we will start with this Gupta Empire. Gupta Empire. So we have already discussed about this post-Mauryan period from 2nd century BC to 3rd century CE, and I already told you these Guptas were ruling from this mid 3rd century BC to this mid 3rd century CE to this mid 6th century CE. We have already discussed about this timeline. So when these Guptas were ruling from this north part of India from this mid 3rd century to mid 6th century CE, at the same time Vakatakas were ruling from this Deccan part of India from mid 3rd century CE to early 6th century CE. So when these Guptas were ruling from this north part of India, Vakatakas were ruling from this Deccan region. At the same time in the South India, particularly this northern part of Tamil Nadu, we have this Pallavas ruling from this Kanchipuram. And remember, most important development during this period in the region of Assam or this Brahmaputra valley, we have this important kingdom emerge in this mid 4th century. So in the mid 3rd century, we have this Gupta Empire, emergence of Gupta Empire, and after this approximately 100 years, in this mid 4th century, we have this Kamrup kingdom emerge in this Assam. So before this, we haven't discussed about this Assam. We don't know about this, what happened in this Assam, but now we have this Kamrup kingdom ruled by this Varman dynasty. Varman dynasty. Varman dynasty. So we have already discussed about this chronology. So Guptas were ruling from this north part of India with its capital Patliputra. Then Vakatakas were ruling from this Deccan region with its capital Nandivardhan, means present day Nagpur. Nandivardhan means present day Nagpur. At the same time, Pallavas were ruling from the south part of India with its capital Kanchipuram. And Varman dynasty was ruling over this Kamrup kingdom with its capital Pragjyotish or Pragjyotishpur, means modern day Guwahati. So remember, Guptas were ruling from this northern part of India from this Patliputra, means present day Patna. At the same time in the Deccan, we have this Vakatakas ruling from this Nandivardhan, means Nagpur, and during the same period in the South India, we have this Pallavas. So Guptas were ruling from mid 3rd century to mid 6th century. At the same time, Vakatakas were ruling from mid 3rd century to this early 6th century. At the same time, we have this Pallavas ruling from 3rd to 4th century to this early 10th century. Early 10th century. And here we have this Varman dynasty ruling from mid 4th century to this mid 6th century. So Varmans were continued to rule during the time of this Gupta as well as during the time of this Harsha. So remember, during the time of this Gupta and during the time of this Harsha, we have this Varman dynasty ruling in this Kamrup kingdom. And one important ruler of this Varman dynasty during the time of this Harsha was Bhaskar Varman. Bhaskar Varman. So Bhaskar Varman was ally of this Harsha. So here remember, we have this Guptas ruling from this north part of India, Vakatakas were ruling from this Deccan part of India, and Pallavas were ruling from this south part of India. So if you consider this Guptas, so Guptas came to power in this later part of this 3rd century. By the end of this 3rd century, around this 275 CE. So we don't know about the origin of Guptas, but most scholars consider that these Guptas were feudatories of Kushanas. So we have already discussed about this Kushanas. So these were feudatories of Kushanas. Once Kushanas were weakened during this declining phase, now they declared their independence. So these were feudatories of Kushanas ruling from this small part of this Uttar Pradesh. And these were possibly Vaishyas in origin. So these were possibly Vaishyas were originally ruling from the small part of Uttar Pradesh, and these were feudatories of Kushan. Feudatories of Kushan. So if you consider this Gupta dynasty was started by this Sri Gupta around this 275 CE. 275 CE, and this Sri Gupta was followed by this Ghatotkach. Sri Gupta was followed by his son Ghatotkach, and both Sri Gupta and Ghatotkach were ruling from this small part of this Uttar Pradesh. They were ruling from small part of Uttar Pradesh, and they did not take any big titles. But after that, we have this one important ruler of this Gupta dynasty or Gupta Empire, that is Chandragupta I. So he was this first important king. He was this first important king of this Gupta period or Gupta Empire, and he became this ruler around this 319 to 320 CE. So he became this ruler around this 390 to 320 CE. This is also considered as beginning of Gupta era. This is also considered as beginning of Gupta era. So he was the first ruler who adopted this title Maharaja-dhi-Raj. So during this time they adopted this title Maharaja-dhi-Raj, then Parmeshwarai. So all these titles were started from this Chandragupta I. So these Sri Gupta and Ghatotkach, they did not adopted this big titles or large titles. So this Chandragupta I, who was this first important ruler of this dynasty, he became the ruler around this 319 to 320 BC, and during this time he adopted this title Maharaja-dhi-Raj. And during this time of Chandragupta I, now he expanded this empire through this matrimonial alliance, means marriage alliance, as well as through this expansion. So this Chandragupta I married with this Kumar Devi. So this Chandragupta I married with this Kumar Devi. Kumar Devi. So if you consider this Chandragupta I married with this Lichavi princess Kumar Devi, Queen Kumar Devi. So some scholars consider that as these Guptas were Vaishyas in origin, Chandragupta I married with this Lichavi princess Kumar Devi to get this sanction, like sanction of these people. So they married with this Kshatriya. So now once this Chandragupta I married with this Lichavi princess Kumar Devi, he issued these gold coins to commemorate this event, and that's why this Samudragupta called himself as Lichavi Duhitra, means grandson of Lichavi. So remember, Chandragupta I married with this Lichavi princess Kumar Devi, and this Samudragupta I called himself as a Lichavi Duhitra. Lichavi Duhitra, or grandson of Lichavi. So if you consider during the time of this Chandragupta first, he has first time expanded the empire, and now during this time expansion took place by this conquest as well as marriage alliance. So this is expansion during this time of Chandragupta first. But if you see this brown color, conquest of Samudragupta, so this maximum or this greatest expansion of this Gupta empire took place during the time of this Samudragupta. During the time of this Samudragupta. So this Chandragupta first was followed by his son Samudragupta, and during this time this maximum or greatest expansion take place. So after this Samudragupta first, we have this Chandragupta second. So during this time of Chandragupta, already Samudragupta has expanded the empire, and during this time I told you these Guptas were ruling here, Vakatakas were ruling in this north part of India. So Chandragupta II's daughter, that is Prabhavati Gupta, now she married with this Vakataka princess, and after the death of this Vakataka prince, Prabhavati Gupta was ruling over this region, and because of that, during this time Chandragupta II defeated this last ruler of this western Kshatrapa, and now he has extended the rule of Gupta here also. So remember, the maximum or the greatest expansion took place during the time of this Samudragupta, but during the time of this Chandragupta II, now he has this all region of Samudragupta plus this area, as he has defeated this last ruler of this western Kshatrapa dynasty. So this empire reached maximum territorial extension during the time of this Chandragupta II, because already this region plus this region. So the maximum or greatest expansion took place during this time of Samudragupta, but this empire reached highest territorial extension during the time of this Chandragupta II. Am I clear to everyone? So Ritesh, we will see about modern history. I already told you there were some issues, means I have some problems like functions in my home I have to attend. If I can skip that, I will definitely inform you and will take. So now tell me, greatest expansion of Gupta empire took place during which period? During which ruler? Greatest expansion. Greatest expansion took place during? Who was the ruler? Yes, greatest expansion took place during this time of Samudragupta. But if you consider this Gupta empire reached highest or maximum territorial extension during the time of this Chandragupta II, because already the expansion done by the Samudragupta plus he has annexed this part of western India. So during this time of this Samudragupta, greatest expansion took place, and during this time expansion took place by this military means. So there was military expansion, and I already told you this Gana or Sangha continued to rule till this Gupta period, particularly this Samudragupta. So he was one who was responsible for this decline of Gana and Sangha, and he also used this title Maharaja Dhiraj. So after this Chandragupta first, many rulers used this title Maharaja Dhiraj, and we know about this Samudragupta from this Allahabad pillar inscription. So we have already discussed about this Allahabad pillar while discussing about this Ashoka's major pillar inscription or major pillar edict. So I told you on the same pillar you will see this inscription of Samudragupta and also Jahangir. So we know about this Samudragupta from this Allahabad pillar inscription, and this Allahabad pillar inscription was written by Hari Sen, who was this court poet of Samudragupta, and it was written in the form of this Kavya. It was written in the form of this Kavya, means poem. So basically this Hari Sen was court poet or scholar in the court of this Samudragupta, and he wrote this inscription called as Allahabad pillar inscription. It describes the personality as well as achievement of Samudragupta. So on this inscription, on this Allahabad pillar inscription, this Hari Sen praised Samudragupta as a great warrior, then poet, as well as equal to gods. Which gods? Remember this Kavi. K for Kabir, V for Varun, I for Indra, A for Yama. A for Yama. So remember, in this Allahabad pillar inscription, this Hari Sen praised Samudragupta as a great warrior, poet, and equal to gods. Which gods? Kavi. Kabir, Yama, Varun, and then Indra. And in this inscription, in this Allahabad pillar inscription, Hari Sen mentioned about these 4 different types of rulers and 4 different types of policies of Samudragupta against them. So this Allahabad pillar inscription mentioned 4 different kinds of rulers and 4 different kinds of policy of Samudragupta. So if you consider this ruler of Aryavart, means North Indian ruler, most of these rulers belongs to this Naga family. So these Naga rulers were defeated by this Samudragupta, and Samudragupta annexed their territory. So this is policy about this ruler of Aryavarta. Ruler of Dakshinpat means here. So this is ruler of Aryavarta, this is ruler of Dakshinpat. So if you consider with respect to this ruler of Dakshinpat, Samudragupta defeated them but did not annex the territory. So they continued to rule. They have accepted the suzerainty of Samudragupta. So if you consider this ruler of Dakshinpat, there were 12 rulers including this Pallavas. Samudragupta defeated them but allowed them to rule. So they have acknowledged this suzerainty of Samudragupta and they paid tribute to this Samudragupta. And then inner circle of neighboring states. So which are these neighboring states? So Kamrup state, Kamrup kingdom, then Nepala means present day Nepal, and in the northwest we have this republics. So basically they bought this tribute, followed the order of Samudragupta and attended his court. And next we have this ruler of outlying areas like descendant of Western Kshatrapas means Shakas, descendant of this Kushanas, as well as ruler of this Sri Lanka. So basically they have presented or offered their daughter in marriage to Samudragupta. So basically Samudragupta defeated this Nagas ruler and annexed their territory. In the South India, Samudragupta defeated this ruler of Dakshinpat but did not annex their territory. And if we believe in this Allahabad pillar inscription written by this Hari Sen in the form of this poem or kavya, then Samudragupta was never defeated. That's why he was also called as Napoleon of India. So is it clear for everyone, this Samudragupta? So greatest expansion took place during the time of this Samudragupta. And through this military means, there was military expansion. But if you consider this Chandragupta II, so Samudragupta was succeeded by this Chandragupta II. But if you consider this play written by this Vishakadatta, now tell me which was the play written by this Vishakadatta, talk about this Chandragupta II. Play written by this Vishakadatta, talk about this Chandragupta II. Who is saying Mudra Rakshas? Mudra Rakshas talking about this Maurya Empire. So Rakshas was this prime minister of Nanda. Rakshas was this prime minister of this Dhananand. So Mudra Rakshas was basically talking about how this Chandragupta Maurya with the help of this Kautilya or Chanakya defeated this Dhananand. So remember this, if you consider this play Devi Chandraguptam written by this Vishakadatta from this Gupta period, according to him Samudragupta was followed by this Ramgupta, but Ramgupta was defeated by this Chandragupta. But whatever may be the reason, we have this Samudragupta and after that we have this Chandragupta. So during this time of Chandragupta II, now this Chandragupta II defeated this last ruler of this Western Kshatrapa dynasty. So during this time, empire reached its greatest extent of territorial expansion. So empire was at its peak. So if you consider this Chandragupta II, he has expanded this through this marriage alliance as well as through this conquest. So if you consider this marriage alliance, Chandragupta II married his daughter Prabhavati to this Vakataka prince we have just discussed, and after the death of this Vakataka prince, this Prabhavati Gupta was ruling in this Deccan region on the behalf of her son with the help of the administrator sent by this Chandragupta II. And this alliance has helped this Chandragupta II in his campaigns against this Western Kshatrapa in Western India. So this is about marriage alliance. Then this is about conquest. So Chandragupta II defeated this last ruler of this Western Kshatrapa and conquered this part of Gujarat, that is Rudrasingha III. Rudrasingha Third, and once he defeated this last ruler of this Western Kshatrapa, or once he defeated this Shaka ruler, he took this title Vikramaditya. He took this title Vikramaditya. And like we know about this Samudragupta from this Allahabad pillar inscription, we know about this Chandragupta II from this Mehravli pillar inscription. Mehravli present in this Delhi. Present in this Delhi. So this Mehravli pillar inscription, this inscription provides us the information about this Chandragupta II. So it was erected during the time of this Chandragupta II and it was dedicated to this Vishnu. So though it is currently present in this Delhi, that is Mehravli, scholars believe that it was probably erected in front of this Udaygiri caves in Madhya Pradesh. Remember, not Odisha. Udaygiri caves in this Odisha, we have this Hati Gumpha inscription and all, and that belongs to this Kharvel king. But Udaygiri caves in this Madhya Pradesh, this Udaygiri caves, these were excavated during the time of this Chandragupta II, and scholar believed that this pillar which is present in this Mehravli in this Delhi, it was brought to Delhi later. So originally it was erected in front of this Udaygiri caves in Madhya Pradesh and it was dedicated to this Vishnu, and it was brought to this Delhi in later period of time. So if you consider this court of Chandragupta II at Ujjain, it was full of these learned people, and these 9 peoples are called as Navratna. Among these 9, you have to remember these 3 important people, that is Kavi, Kalidas, A for Amar Singha or V for Varahamir. So you have to remember this grammarian Amar Singha who wrote this Amar Kosh. Then you have to remember this mathematician and astronomer, that is Varahamir. So remember Kalidas, Amar Singha and then Varahamir. Then we have this fine visit. Remember, we have these 3 important Chinese travelers who traveled to this India to see the land of Buddha as well as to read this text related to this Buddhism. So which are these? Fayan, Huensang and Itsing. So Fayan visited in this 5th century during the time of this Chandragupta II. Then Huensang visited in the 7th century during the time of this Harsha, and after this 50 years of this Huensang, we have this Itsing. We have this Itsing. So remember, we have these 3 Chinese travelers who visited India to see this land of Buddha as well as to read this Buddhist text and convert into this Chinese language, so that they have this Buddhist text. So which are these? Fayan, Huensang, Itsing. In the 5th century, Fayan, during the time of this Chandragupta II, he visited this India from this 400 to 410 CE. For this 9 years he was in this India. Out of this 900, for the 6 years he was in this Gupta Empire, and out of this 6 years he was in this Patliputra for this 3 years. And he mentioned that this Buddhism was in the state of neglect in this Gangetic Valley, and he called this Gangetic Valley as a land of Brahmanism. So according to him, Buddhism was flourished in this northwest part of India, but not in this Gangetic Valley. He called this Gangetic Valley as a land of Brahmanism. So Buddhism was flourishing in this northwestern part of India, and he called that in this Gangetic Valley, Buddhism was in this state of neglect. Buddhism was in state of neglect. So now we will discuss about this next ruler, that is Kumargupta. So we have discussed about this 3 Gupta, Ghatotkach, then Chandragupta first, then Samudragupta, and then Chandragupta II. Now tell me, Allahabad pillar inscription provide information about which ruler? Allahabad pillar inscription provide information about which ruler? Who is saying Chandragupta II? Ritesh. We have just discussed about this Allahabad pillar inscription which provide information about this Samudragupta, right? Who wrote this inscription? Who wrote this inscription, Allahabad pillar inscription? So tell me, am I correct? Hari Sen equate Samudragupta with Shiva, god Shiva. No, he equated this Samudragupta with Indra, god Indra. Yes, so remember this Kavi, K for Kuber, A for Yama, V for Varun and I for Indra. So we know about this Chandragupta II from which inscription? Which inscription? Mehrauli iron pillar inscription. Currently it is located in this Mehrauli means Delhi, but originally erected in front of this Udaygiri caves. Now tell me, this Udaygiri caves are present in which state? Udaygiri caves are present in which state? Yes, Madhya Pradesh. We have also discussed about this Udaygiri caves from Odisha. So who excavated these caves? So we have also discussed about this Udaygiri caves in Odisha. Who excavated these caves? Yes, King Kharvel. So now after this Chandragupta II, we will discuss about, now tell me, who eliminated or who defeated this last ruler of this Western Kshatrapa dynasty? Who defeated this last ruler of this Western Kshatrapa dynasty? Chandragupta II. Now tell me, who took this title Maharajadhiraj for the first time? Who took this title Maharajadhiraj for the first time? Who took this title Maharajadhiraj for the first time? Who is saying Chandragupta II? Chandragupta I, he was this first important ruler of this Gupta dynasty and he took this title Maharajadhiraj. Who took this title? Maharajadhiraj. So we have this Sri Gupta, Ghatotkacha, Chandragupta I, Samudragupta, then Chandragupta II, and after this Chandragupta II, we have this Kumar Gupta. So during this time of Kumar Gupta, there was general peace and prosperity. As there was general peace and prosperity during this time, Gupta Empire reached new cultural height. So whenever there is a peace and prosperity, you will see this progress in this culture, and during this time, Kumar Gupta established this Nalanda Mahavihara or Nalanda University. Kumar Gupta established this Nalanda University, and by the end of this Kumar Gupta rule, there was Huna's invasion of Hunas, but major Huna's invasion took place during the time of this successor of Kumar Gupta, that is Skandagupta. So Skandagupta was the one who really faced this Huna's invasion, but he had successfully resisted this Huna's invasion. Though he had successfully resisted this Huna's invasion was also one of the reasons responsible for this decline of Guptas. And after this Skandagupta, we don't have most important ruler. So this Skandagupta was the last important ruler of this Gupta dynasty, and now there was decline of this Gupta, but still Gupta continued till this mid 6th century CE. And for this Skandagupta, we have two important inscriptions. First is Bitari pillar inscription from this Uttar Pradesh, and then we have this inscription, Junagadh inscription or Girnar inscription. So I already told you, in this Junagadh inscription or this in this Junagadh or Girnar rock, we have this inscription of Ashoka, then Rudradaman first, and then Skandagupta. So in this Junagadh inscription, this Rudradaman has mentioned that the lake was prepared or created or made by this governor of Chandragupta Maurya. It was repaired by this Rudradaman first. And then we have this inscription of Skandagupta, who has mentioned that this lake was once again repaired by this Skandagupta. For along with this Junagadh or Girnar inscription, we have one more inscription which talk about this Skandagupta, that is Bitari pillar inscription. So this is from this Uttar Pradesh. This is from this Uttar Pradesh. These periods are not that important. They were ruling from this ruling in this 400 something means 5th century. They were ruling around this mid-5th century. So after this mid-5th century, you will see this decline of Gupta, but in this decline period also they continue till this mid-6th century. Now we will see about their administration. So during this time of this Maurya, we have seen this centralized administration. Why centralized administration? Entire Indian subcontinent was ruled by this Maurya. But if you see, during the time of this Gupta, we have already discussed about this land grants. So during this time of this early century of this common era, from this Western Kshatrapa or Satavahanas, they have given this land grants to these Brahmanas, they have given this land grants to these Buddhists. So along with that, there were many feudatory rulers. So from this early century, we have this decentralized administration. So in the different region, we have this feudatory rulers. They have accepted the suzerainty of this main ruler, but in that region, they were ruling. Means they were responsible for this administration. So if you consider this Gupta period, during the time of this Gupta, they have this feudatories, that is subordinate ruler. So whenever they have this subordinate ruler, they were ruling over that region. So if you consider this Samudragupta, he has defeated this ruler of Dakshinpat, but he did not annex the territory. So this subordinate ruler continued to rule, and they have accepted the suzerainty of this Gupta ruler. So here we have this feudatories. Then Gupta have given this land grants to the Samantas also. Samantas means in that region these were the powerful people. So Guptas has given this land grants. Remember, this is grant. Grant means like gift. So whenever this land grant is given, this Samanta was responsible, or Samant was responsible for this administration. So he collect the revenue, but he did not give the revenue to this king. So he collect the revenue, and out of this revenue, what he do is he maintain this law and order there. So he do the basic administration there. Along with that, he maintain this army. So whenever the king needed this army, he provide this army to this king, and along with that, he also pay this tribute to the king. So because of this Samantas, so now you have this feudatory rulers ruling in this different part of India. You have this Samantas. So you have given this land grants to this Brahmanas, then land grants to this Buddhists. So whenever you hear this term grant means gift. So in that region, this Brahman or Buddhist was responsible for this administration. He collect this revenue, but won't pay to this king. He collect this revenue. Out of this revenue, they will do this basic administration, and along with that, they will have this army. So whenever the king need, they give this army to this king, and along with that, they also pay this tribute to this king. So now, if you see during this time, because of this feudatories, because of this Samantas, and because of the Shrenis, so we have already seen the Shrenis or guild from the 6th century BC. So we have the Shrenis and guilds, and in this Shrenis and guild, they have their own administrative rule. So because of all these reasons, if you consider during this time of Gupta, we have this decentralized administration. So Gupta kings were controlling only few part. They were responsible for this direct administration only in few part. In another part, we have this feudatories or subordinate ruler. Then land grant was given to this local chief and all other people, and then we have this guilds or Shreni. So if you consider during the time of this Maurya, they were controlling this large part of India. There was this centralized administration. King was supreme, and there were different officers in the provinces level, then district level, village level, urban level. But here if you see, they don't need this much administration, this much administrator. Why they don't need that much officers or administrator? Because they have this decentralized administration. So land grant was given to this Brahmana is called as Agrahara. Then this empire was divided into different provinces. So remember, this empire was divided into different provinces. These provinces were called as Bhuktis, and in each provinces there was governor called as Uparik. So this empire was divided into provinces called as Bhuktis, headed by this Uparik, and these provinces were further divided into district called as Vishay, headed by this Vishaypati. So if you consider for this administration, remember, first of all, Gupta's ruler, they were not controlling this entire, they were not responsible for this administration in entire part. No, even in this northern India, in different region, we have this feudatories, they have given this land grants, they have this Samantas and all, they were ruling. And in remaining part, this entire empire was divided into provinces, that is Bhuktis, ruled by this Uparik, and this province were divided into district, that is Vishay, headed by this Vishaypati. Similarly, in this urban area, for this administration, they have this organized professional bodies, and in the villages they have this village headman. So if you consider this source of revenue, agriculture was still important. We have seen during the time of this Maurya, this revenue was about 1/6. Land revenue was about 1/6 of this total produce, but during the time of this Gupta period, this land revenue increased, tax on this land increased, and it was about this 1/4. And along with that, whenever army passes through any villages, these villagers have to perform this forced labor. So they have to support this army. So whatever the needed for the army, they have to give. So this forced labor is called as vishti. It is also one type of tax. Forced labor called as vishti, it is also one type of tax. So we have already discussed about this Gupta's coins. So if you consider in the ancient time, if you compare with this Kushan versus this Gupta's issued largest number of coins. So as compared to this Kushan, they have issued this more number of gold coins. But if you consider this metallic purity, this Kushanas issued this coins, gold coins with this higher metal purity. So this is about gold. But if you compare with this copper, which was used in this everyday life by this common people in this trade, this lower level of exchange, these copper coins were used, and Gupta's issued lesser number of copper coins as compared to this Kushan. Now we will discuss about their social life. So till now, is it clear for everyone? Remember, this social life is not important for you. In the Gupta, only few of these important facts which we have discussed from this political history, these are important, along with their inscription and their administration. And last part is about this art and culture. So still we are discussing most of the parts, so we will discuss about this social life also, because we will get this in general understanding. What was this condition of society during this time? So during this time, they have given this land grants to this Brahmana. Now tell me, what is the term used for this land grants to Brahman? Land grants to Brahman. What is the term used for this land grants to Brahman? Yes, Agrahara. As they have given this land grants to Brahmana, during this time the influence or the power of Brahmana increased. That is, there was increase in the prestige of Brahman. So they have given this land grants to Brahmana. So they have favored this Brahmana, and in return, now this Brahman compared this Guptas with these different gods. So they have favored this Brahmanas have favored this ruler, because we know Guptas were Vaishyas in origin, but now Brahmanas recognize them as a Kshatriya. Now Brahmanas compared them with these gods. So during this time, because of this land grants, there was increase in the prestige of Brahman, and because of this increase in the prestige of Brahman, now the society became more rigid. So this caste system became more rigid. But you have to remember this one important thing during this period, that is improvement in the status of Shudras. Why there was improvement in the status of Shudras? So basically there are two reasons for this improvement of Shudras. So first is, during this time, if you compare from the 6th century BC continuous, this Buddhism was flourishing. So around this common era, there was division of Buddhism into Hinayana Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism, and Buddhism was offering some equality to all these people. So many people were converting to this Buddhism. So Buddhism was attracting to this many people or this common people. Now in order to stop that, Brahmana started to reform their religion. So if you compare now during this time, Brahmanas allowed them to do this, to listen to these epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranas. So we will discuss about that. These epics, Puranas were compiled during this Gupta period. Now Brahmanas allowed the Shudras to listen to this Ramayana, Mahabharata as well as Puranas. Brahmanas now allowed the Shudras to perform these rituals and sacrifices with the help of these Brahmans. Brahmanas allowed them to start this worshipping these personal deities like Shivas and Vishnu. So basically there was improvement in the status of Shudras. So Brahmanas have reformed their religion. And second important reason is this economic status. So if you consider during the 7th century CE, we have seen the Shudras were agriculturalists also. So it is also one of this common reason that it was because of this increase in the economic status they were allowed this concession. So there was improvement in the status of Shudras, but remember there was increase in the number of untouchables also. So both Fayan and Yuan Sang mentioned about this increasing number of untouchables, and now we will discuss about this condition of women. So if you consider this social life, Gupta gave land grants to the Brahmana. That's why this importance of Brahmana or the prestige of Brahmana increased. Then caste system became this more rigid. Then improvement in the status of Shudras. Shudras were allowed to listen to this epic like Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranas. They could worship these personal deities, Shiva, Krishna. They were permitted to perform some certain domestic rituals, and it was also because of this economic advancement. So if you see in the 7th century CE, we have seen these Shudras were agriculturalists. So earlier, what was the main role of Shudras? Serve these upper three varnas, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. But now they came to seen as an agriculturalist. So this increase in this economic status was also, or improvement in this economic status was also one of the reason for this improvement of condition of Shudras. So untouchables were increased during this period, and most important now this women in Gupta society. Women in Gupta society, like Shudras were allowed to listen to this epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata and Puranas. Women were also allowed to listen to this Ramayana, Mahabharata and Puranas, and they also worship this. They were also allowed to worship this Krishnas as well as Shivas. So they were also allowed to worship this personal deities. But remember, most important during this period is there was increase in patriarchal control during this Gupta period. So we have already seen during this time prestige of Brahmanas increased, caste system became more rigid. At the same time, there was increase in patriarchal control. If you consider this education, only these women from this higher class could get this education, but not all women. And if you consider this higher class versus lower class women, this lower class women have this more freedom if you compare with this higher class or higher class. Why? Because this lower class women, they had to go outside their home to perform their labor. So they have this economic freedom, and because of this economic freedom, they are not dependent on their husband. But if you consider this condition of higher caste women, economically they are completely dependent on their husband. So they lack their independent livelihood and complete dependent on the men for their livelihood. So that's why there was more subordination of women in this higher caste. And during this time, I already told you, during this time there was increase in this patriarchal control, and this men or this male member became this more and more property minded. They are so much property minded, and they became this polygamous that they began to treat these women as a property. So there was increase in this patriarchal control, there was more subordination of women, and these male members or these men became property minded to such an extent that they consider these women, they treat these women as a property. They treat these women as a property to such an extent that they considered these women to follow them in the next life. So after this death of husband was expecting the death of women also, death of wife also. So that's why during this time you will see the first time practice of sati. We have this first evidence of practice of sati from this Gupta period. So during this time, they became this property minded, they became this polygamous, and they began to treat the women as a property. So woman was expected to follow the husband to the next life, in this next world. So we have this first evidence of practice of sati during this Gupta period. Remember, though we have this evidence of practice of sati from this Gupta period, the sati practice was not prevalent during this time. Remember, sati practice was not prevalent during this time. So we have already discussed about this women during this time. We have discussed about this Katayana Smriti, right? So this Katayana Smriti has enlarged the scope of gifts to these women. Next, we will discuss about this religion. Is it clear for everyone till now? Society, societal condition, social life during this Gupta period. Remember, in general, social life is not important for your exam. But in general, political history, some important facts, then this administration and this religion and social life, religion and art and culture is important. So now we will discuss about this emergence of Hinduism. Emergence of Hinduism. So we have already discussed in this post-Mauryan period. We have seen this in the post-Mauryan period, importance of Vedic rituals continued. Sacrifices continued, but now people started worshipping these deities. So people started worshipping these personal deities, and there was emergence of Shaivism and Vaishnavism. And now during this period, along with this Vishnu, I already told you, not only this Vishnu, avatars of Vishnu, incarnations of Vishnu were also worshipped. So if you consider this Ramayana, Mahabharata, though these were composed over this long period of time, these were finally compiled during this Gupta period. So if you consider Vedas were composed in this early Vedic period and later Vedic period, and then Ramayana, Mahabharata were finally compiled in this Gupta period, and after this Ramayana, Mahabharata or this epic, we have this Puranas. So Puranas were compiled in this Gupta period and then post-Gupta period. So this Ramayana and Mahabharata were finally compiled during this Gupta period. And if you consider this Mahabharata, part of Mahabharata was Bhagavad Gita, and in the Bhagavad Gita you will find this mention of different incarnation of Vishnu or avatars of Vishnu. So you might have heard this famous slok from this Mahabharata, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhitanam adharmasya tadatmanam srujamenem paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkratam dharma samsthapanarthayam sambhavami yuge yuge. Means whenever there is a problem in this social order, Vishnu comes in these different forms. So this has mentioned about these different avatars or incarnation of Vishnu. So now people started worshipping this Vishnu or its incarnation. So this is called as Vaishnavism, and people also started worshipping this Shiva also. So now during this time, now along with this worship of these personal deities, that is Shiva and Vishnu, Shaivism and Vaishnavism, now people started this idol worship in the temples. So you will see these temples, small temples, just this beginning of temple during this Gupta period. So religious literature like Ramayana, Mahabharata were composed, means final compilation took place during this time, and after this Ramayana, Mahabharata we have this Puranas. So initial Puranas were written during this Gupta period, and some of these Puranas were written during this post Gupta period. Not only this Puranas, even some of the Smriti books like Brismati Smriti, then Narad Smriti, all these were compiled during this period. So this Gupta king were also tolerant toward this other religion. If you consider this Buddhism, it did not receive this royal patronage. Remember, during this time, this Nalanda Mahavira, all these were created or made, but that doesn't mean this Gupta ruler supported this Buddhism. So Buddhism no longer received this royal patronage, but during this time, Gupta kings, some of these stupas and viharas were constructed, and Kumar Gupta founded this Buddhist University of Nalanda. Remember, Kumar Gupta founded this Buddhist University of Nalanda. This Nalanda Mahavihara or Nalanda University. Now tell me whether you will find this mention of Nalanda Mahavihara or University in Fahin's account. In Fahin's account, whether you will find the mention of this Nalanda Mahavihara or University. Who is saying yes? Remember, now see, we have this Samudragupta, then Ghatotkach, then Chandragupta first, then Samudragupta, then we have this Chandragupta second, then we have this Kumar Gupta, right? So basically this Fayan visited during the time of this Chandragupta II, and this Nalanda Mahavihara or Nalanda University was established during the time of this Kumargupta first or Kumargupta. So you won't find the mention of this Nalanda Mahavihara or university during the time of this Chandragupta II. So you won't find this mention of this Nalanda University in this Fayan's account. Fayan's account. So am I clear to everyone? Ritesh, Sandeep, Yasaswini. So you all said yes. But remember, this Fayan visited during the time of this Chandragupta II, and this Nalanda University or Mahavihara was created during the time of this Kumargupta. So remember, this Nalanda Mahavihara or Nalanda University, it was an important Buddhist center, particularly this Mahayana Buddhism. It was an important center of this Mahayana Buddhism. So who was this founder of this Nalanda Mahavihara? Kumargupta first or Kumargupta. And this Nalanda Mahavihara continued from 5th century to this 13th century. Finally, it was destroyed by this Bakhtiyar Khalji, who was this general of Qutbuddin Aibak. Qutbuddin Aibak. But remember, though it was destroyed by this Bakhtiyar Khalji, in this, who was this general of this Qutbuddin Aibak, this Nalanda Mahavihara was declined basically because of this overall decline in this Buddhism. So it was declined because of this overall decline in this Buddhism. And you have to remember one important fact: in 2014, there was revival of this Nalanda University. So government of India formally inaugurated this Nalanda University in Rajgir in 2014, and in 2016 it got this World Heritage Site tag. So it was added into this World Heritage Site in 2016. Now if you consider it was an important center of this Mahayana Buddhism, so the study of Mahayana Buddhism was compulsory, but the study was not restricted only to this Mahayana Buddhism. It also included this wide range of subjects like study of Vedas, mathematics, astronomy, all these things. So remember, it was not restricted to this Buddhist text or Mahayana Buddhist text. So if you consider this Chinese account, Fayan did not mention about this Nalanda University or Mahavihara, but you will find this mention of this Nalanda Mahavihara or University in these accounts of Yuansang and Itsing. Now the last and most important part of this Gupta Empire, that is art and architecture. Art and architecture. So is it clear for everyone till now? Now tell me, this Mehrauli iron pillar inscription provide the information about which king? Mehrauli iron pillar inscription provide information about which king? Chandragupta II. Allahabad pillar inscription. Allahabad pillar inscription. Allahabad pillar inscription. Samudragupta. Bitari pillar inscription. Bitari pillar inscription. Bitari pillar inscription. Not Samudragupta, Skandagupta. Bitari pillar inscription, Skandagupta. Greatest expansion took place during which period? During the who was this ruler who did this greatest expansion? Who was the ruler who did this greatest expansion? Samudragupta. So who wrote this Allahabad pillar inscription? Who wrote this Allahabad pillar inscription? Who wrote this Allahabad pillar inscription? Hari Sen wrote this Allahabad pillar inscription. Okay. So who were these rulers? From which dynasty or family in this Aryavarth or North India during the time of this Samudragupta? during the time of this Samudragupta? Who were the rulers in this north part of India? Yes, from Naga family. So these are Naga's ruler. Naga's ruler. Who founded this Nalanda Mahavihara or university? Who founded this Nalanda Mahavihara or Nalanda University? Yes, Kumar Gupta founded this Nalanda University. Nalanda University. So main Huna's invasion took place during which period? Main Huna's invasion took place during which period? Huna's invasion took place during which period? Yes, during the period of this Skandagupta. During the period of this Skandagupta. Now we will discuss about this art and architecture during this Gupta period. So this period is also called as Golden Age of Indian culture. Golden Age of Indian culture. Why? Because of this remarkable achievements in this art, architecture, science and literature. So now we will discuss this one by one. So if you consider this Buddhist art, during this time we have already discussed this Kumar Gupta founded this Nalanda University or Nalanda Mahavihara, and if you consider these two important caves, that is Bagh caves from Madhya Pradesh and Ajanta caves from this Maharashtra or this Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar district of Maharashtra, means Aurangabad district of Maharashtra. So if you consider this Bagh caves and Ajanta caves, the painting of both these caves belongs to this Gupta period. And not only these paintings, if you consider these Bagh caves from Madhya Pradesh, which are located on the bank of river Bagini. So from this river Bagini, it got this name Bagh caves. So Bagh caves from this Madhya Pradesh located on this river Bagini. These are 9 Buddhist rock cut caves and these were excavated during this Gupta period. So these belongs to this Gupta period. So these are 9 Buddhist rock cut caves belongs to this Gupta period. If you consider this Ajanta caves, which are located in this Sambhajinagar district in this Maharashtra on the bank of river Waghora. So these are 30 Buddhist rock cut caves, and out of this 30 Buddhist rock cut caves, these 24. So these 30 Buddhist rock cut caves were excavated in 2 phases. In first phase, we have these 6 caves excavated during the period of this Satavahan and 24 caves excavated during the period of this Gupta. During the period of this Gupta. So remember, if you consider this Bagh caves and Ajanta cave, these paintings belong to this Gupta period, and these 9 Buddhist rock cut caves were excavated during this Gupta period, and out of these 30 Buddhist rock cut caves at Ajanta, first means 6 were excavated during this Satavahan and next 24 were excavated during the period of this Gupta. Next temple, you will see the temple for the first time. So you have this important temple, Dashavatara temple. Dashavatara temple. So Dash means 10, Avatar means incarnation. It depicts this Vishnu's 10 avatars or Vishnu's 10 incarnation. Next we have this Udaygiri caves. I already told you earlier, we have discussed about this Udaygiri caves from this King Kharvel, who followed this Jainism. So he excavated these caves in this Udaygiri hills for the Jain monks, but these Udaygiri caves are from this Madhya Pradesh, and these are 20 rock cut caves near to this Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh, and these are from this Gupta period, particularly from this Chandragupta II, and these are devoted to this Vishnu and Shiva. Next we will discuss about this literature. So if you consider which was this court language, basically Sanskrit was the court language. Next, religious literature, I already told you during this time, epics were composed or final compilation of epics took place during this time, like Ramayana, Mahabharata. Then after this compilation of this Ramayana, Mahabharata, what was compiled during this period? This Puranas. So initial Puranas were compiled during this period. Along with that, many Smritis were compiled during this period. Which are these Smritis? Narak Smriti, Brihadaranyaka Smriti, Brahaspati Smriti, and then Katayana Smriti. Remember this Narad Smriti, Brahaspati Smriti, and then Katayana Smriti. So in general, just remember, Vedas were composed during this Vedic period. In the early Vedic period, Rig Veda. In the later Vedic period, this later Vedic text. Then Ramayana, Mahabharata. Final compilation took place during this Gupta period. After this Ramayana, Mahabharata, we have this Puranas. Next, we will discuss about this secular literature. So I already told you while discussing about this Navaratra, remember this Amar Singha. So he was this grammarian who wrote this Sanskrit grammar, that is Amarkosh. Then we have this Kalidas. Kalidas was most famous court scholar during the time of this Chandragupta II. So if you consider, there are many famous play of this Kalidas, and in his place this upper two Varnas, people from this upper two Varnas, that is Kshatriyas and Brahmanas, they were speaking in this Sanskrit language and other people were speaking in this Prakrit language. So if you consider this important plays of this Kalidas, we have this Abhidnya Shakuntalam, and we have already discussed about this Malvik Agnimitra, which talk about this Shungas. Then we have this Meghdut, Raghuvamsha, Ritu Samhar. All these are important plays and poems of Kalidas. So I have given information about that. We have already discussed about the Shudrak. So Shudrak was also from this Gupta period, and he has this important play, that is Brichakatik. It was a love story between this Charudat and Vasant Sen. So Charudat play was already written by this Bhasa, but it was incomplete play and it was completed by this Shudrak. Then we have this scientific literature. Now tell me, who wrote this Mrichakatik? Who wrote this Mrichakatik? Shudrak wrote this Mrichakatik. Now tell me whether Puranas were compiled earlier or epics were compiled earlier. Puranas or epics? Puranas or epics? Epics means Ramayana, Mahabharata. Yes, epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Next, some of these Smritis were also compiled during this period. Remember this Katayana Smriti from this Gupta period. Katayana Smriti from this Gupta period. Next, we will discuss about this scientific literature. Scientific literature. Remember these two important scholars who were this mathematician and astronomer from this Gupta period, that is Aryabhatta and Varahamir. Remember, Aryabhatta and Varahamir were astronomer and mathematician from this Gupta period, and Aryabhatta wrote these two important books, that is Aryabhatiya and Surya Siddhant. Aryabhatiya and Surya Siddhant, and this Varahamir wrote this Pancha Siddhantika, means 5 astronomical system, and Brihat Sanhita. Brihat Sanhita. So remember this Aryabhatta wrote this Aryabhatiya and Surya Siddhant, and this Varahamir wrote this Pancha Siddhantika and then Brihat Sanhita. Remember this Pancha Siddhantika is about this astronomy, is about this 5 astronomical system, but this Brihat Sanhita, it was this encyclopedia talking about this various subjects. And if you consider this Aryabhatta, why this Aryabhatta was important? So he was this mathematician and astronomer from this Gupta period, and he has given this correct explanation of this day and nights. So he told at that period that this day and night is due to rotation of earth. So he explained at that period that this day and night is because of this rotation of earth, and he has also given this scientific explanation of this lunar and solar eclipse. So he has given this scientific explanation of lunar and solar eclipse, and he has also found a way or formula to calculate the circumference of circle. So currently we use this formula 2 pi r to calculate the circumference of circle, and he also found this formula or the way to calculate the circumference of circle, which is almost equal to this. So whatever this final number comes after this, using this formula 2 pi r, he has found the way where this number almost equal to this modern number what we use today, and along with that he has also given this length of the year, that is 365 day, 6 hours and 12 minutes, which is approximately equal to what we consider today 365 days, 5 hours and 48 minutes. So remember this Aryabhatta, who wrote this Aryabhatiya, and then Surya Siddhant, and then Varahamir, who wrote this Panchasiddhantika, and then Brihad Samhita. So this Aryabhatta, who was this astronomer and mathematician from this Gupta period, he has given this scientific explanation of lunar and solar eclipse. Then he has given this explanation for this occurrence of day and night, and third is circumference for calculate formula or the way for calculating this circumference of circle. Is it clear for everyone? So tell me, is it clear for everyone? So who wrote this Panchasiddhantika? Who wrote this Panchasiddhantika? Who wrote this Panchasiddhantika? Varahamir. Okay. Who wrote this Surya Siddhant? Surya Siddhant. Surya Siddhant. Okay, Aryabhatta. Aryabhatta. Now, if you see in this medicine, during this time we have this Vagbhatta, and he was this author of Ashtanga Sangraha, means summary of 8 branches of medicine. So we consider this 3 as a trio, medicine trio, medical trio during this ancient period, which are this Charak, Sushrut, and then Vagbhatta. So remember, Vagbhatta wrote this Ashtanga Sangraha. Now remember, whatever we are discussing, these are not from this Gupta period, but this belongs to this post-Gupta period. Now we are discussing about this mathematician. Remember, in the post-Gupta period, don't confused just because we are discussing now. So we have just now we have discussed about this Aryabhatta and Varahamir, who are from this Gupta period. Now we are discussing about this others like Brahmagupta, which was from this 7th century CE. Then Mahavir Acharya from this 9th century CE, and then Bhaskaracharya from this 12th century. So if you consider this Brahmagupta as well as Bhaskaracharya, both are mathematician and astronomer. But if you consider this Jain Mahavir Acharya, he was this 9th century mathematician. 9th century mathematician. So now we are going to discuss about this Brahmagupta, Mahaviracharya and Bhaskaracharya. So whatever now we are discussing about this Brahmagupta, all this information is updated in this latest NCERT, but not in this history book, but in this mathematics. 8th standard mathematics. So basically, who was this Brahmagupta? Brahmagupta was this mathematician and astronomer from this 7th century CE. Remember, from this 7th century CE means from this post-Gupta period. From this post-Gupta period, and he has written these two important books, which are these Brahmasput Siddhant and then Khanda Khadyakam. Brahmasput Siddhant and Khanda Khadyakam or Khanda Khadyak. So remember this name, I have also given in this for your simplification. So Brahmasput Siddhant and then Khanda Khadyakam. So if you consider these rules for this addition, then subtraction, multiplication for this negative numbers are given by this Brahmagupta. So he gave these rules for this multiplication and division of positive and negative numbers. So we already know about this positive, but most important is negative. So he has given these rules for this multiplication and division of this positive and negative number. Now, have you till your 10th standard, have you attempted this x plus 2y equal to 3, x plus y equal to 1 like this till the 10th standard in your algebra? Like finding this value by unknown number by using this x and y. So this time, during the time of this Brahmagupta in the 7th century, Brahmagupta gave such formulas like using this, finding this unknown number using this some symbols or sign like this x and y. So this is the earliest work in this algebra. So this was one of this earliest known works in the history of algebra. So remember, Brahmagupta was known for this work in this algebra. So this is about this Brahmagupta. So remember these two important work of this Brahmagupta, Brahmasput Siddhant and then Khanda Khadyakam. Khanda Khadyakam, Brahmasput, Brahmagupta, Brahmasput Siddhant and then Khanda Khadyakam. Now we have this Mahavir Acharya. So basically Mahavir Acharya was this follower of this Jainism. He was this Indian Jain mathematician from this 9th century and he was patronized by this Rashtrakoot ruler Amogvarsh. Rashtrakoot ruler Amogvarsh, and he was the first mathematician from this ancient time who separated this mathematics from astronomy. He was the first Indian who separated this astrology from mathematics, and he wrote this important books Ganit Sar Sangraha. Ganit Sar Sangraha, and this was this earliest Indian text entirely dedicated to mathematics. So if you see before this, most of these mathematicians are astronomer also, and in every book you will see the information about mathematics as well as astronomy. But this Mahavir Acharya, who was this Jain monk from this 9th century, he was patronized by this Amogvarsha, and he was the first Indian who separated this astrology from mathematics, and he authored this book Ganit Sar Sangraha. Ganit Sar Sangraha. Now tell me, who wrote this book Khanda Khadyakam? Tell me the name of this another book written by this Brahmagupta. Name of this other book written by this Brahmagupta. Yes, Brahmasput Siddhant. Brahmasput Siddhant. Now we have this 12th century Indian mathematician and astronomer, that is Bhaskaracharya, and he is known for his work, that is Siddhant Shiromani. He is known for his work Siddhant Shiromani, and this Siddhant Shiromani is divided into 4 parts. Remember, Lilavati, it is a part of this Siddhant Shiromani that is written by this Bhaskaracharya. So we have this Lilavati. means arithmetic, then Bijganit means algebra, then Graha Ganit, Graha in the sense planet, and Ganit means mathematics. So Graha Ganit, planetary mathematics, and last we have this Goladhyay. Remember this Siddhant Shiromani was divided into 4 parts, which are these: Lilavati, Bijganit, Graha Ganit, and then Goladhyay. So this is about this Bhaskaracharya. But remember, whatever we have discussed about Brahmagupta, then we have discussed about this Mahaviracharya, and then we have discussed about this Bhaskaracharya. So all these are not from this Gupta period, but these are from this post-Gupta period. Post-Gupta period. Now tell me this important books written by this Mahaviracharya. Important books written by this Mahaviracharya. Yes, Ganit Sar Sangraha. Remember this Ganit Sar Sangraha. Book written by this Bhaskaracharya. 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 Yes, Lilavati is a part of this Siddhant Shiromani. Sandeep, we have these 4 parts of this Siddhant Shiromani. Yes, Siddhant Shiromani. So this is about this Gupta period or Gupta Empire. So do you find this Gupta Empire easy? See, it's almost impossible for anyone to complete this ancient Indian history in 12 or 14 hours, because still we have taken this in too much detail. I have taken almost 24 lectures to complete this ancient Indian history in the foundation. So in the foundation we have this 48 hours to complete this ancient Indian history, and now we are completing this in this 12 or 14 hours. So definitely there is such difference, but we have almost covered most important part from this ancient Indian history. So now we will discuss about this post-Gupta period. So we have already discussed about this timeline. So from this decline of these Guptas to this rise of Harshas. So Harsha established his rule in 606 C and continued till this 647 C, means from this beginning of 7th century to this mid 7th century. So this first half of this 7th century in the North India we have this Harsha, and this era, this 606 CE is called as beginning of Harsha era or Harsha period. But if you consider during this time of Gupta, I already told you Gupta ruled from this mid 3rd century to this mid 6th century. But after this mid 5th century, we have this declining phase. Successors were not that strong, and from this mid 5th century, now you will see this emergence of different rulers in the different part of India, and we have already discussed in the yesterday's lecture. Now tell me who was ruling from this Vallabhi? Who was ruling from this Vallabhi or Gujarat or Saurashtra? Yes, who was ruling from this Vallabhi? Maukharis. Who was ruling from? Sorry, yes, Maitrakas. Now tell me who was ruling from this Kanauj? So Maitrakas were ruling from this way. Maitrakas were ruling from this Vallabhi. Who was ruling from this Kanauj? Yes, Maukharis were ruling from this Kanauj. Who was ruling from this Magadh? In the Kanauj we have this Maukharis. Who was ruling from this Magadh? Yes, later Guptas were ruling from this Magadh. Later Guptas were ruling from this Magad. Remember, this later Guptas did not have any relation with this imperial Guptas, which we have already discussed, right? So these are these two different dynasties. So Maitrakas were ruling from this Vallabhi, Maukarids were ruling from this Kanauj, later Guptas were ruling from this Magad, Pushyabhutis were ruling from this Thaneswar, and then Gauds were ruling from this Bengal. And finally, among these, Pushyabhutis became powerful, and Harsha became this powerful ruler in this North India in this first half of this 7th century. So in the first of this 7th century, we have this rule of Harsha. So remember, from this Harsha is in general not that important for you, but you have to remember certain facts about this. So when Harsha was ruling in this north part of India from 606 to 647, we have already discussed in this timeline. So when these Guptas were ruling, or when the Harsha was ruling, during the same period of time in the Assam, we have this Kamrup dynasty ruled by this Varmans, and during the time of this Harsha, who was ruling in this Kamrup dynasty? Tell me the name of this Varman ruler. Tell me the name of this Varman ruler. We have just discussed, right? Something with B. Yes, Bhaskar Varman. Bhaskar Varman. So during this time, Bhaskar Varman was ruling from this Kamrup kingdom, that is Assam, and remember, he was this ally of Harsha. So basically, most of the ruler, either Harsha have defeated them, or during this period, or they have accepted this suzerainty of Harsha. So they became this subordinate ruler. So in the first half of the 7th century in this North India, so immediately after this Guptas, we have this disintegration, we have this political instability, but finally Harsha established their rule in this north part of India in the first half of 7th century. So in this north part of India, most of the time Harsha have defeated these other rulers, or either these rulers accepted the suzerainty of Harsha, they became the subordinate ruler, or they were allies like Bhaskar Varman, that is Varman dynasty in this Kamrup. But in the southern, Harsha also wanted to establish this rule in the southern, and Harsha started this southern expedition. His southern expedition was stopped on the bank of this Narmada river by this Pulkesin II. Pulkesin II. So during this time in the South India, we have this Western Chalukya ruler. Chalukyas of Badamis were ruling from this Deccan part of India as well as part of this modern day Karnataka. And during this time, now this Pulkesin II defeated the Harsha on the bank of this Narmada river. So this is the only defeat of this Harsha in his life. So Harsha was defeated only once, that is on the bank of this Narmada river, which stopped this southern expedition of Harsha. So now during this time, Pulkesin II defeated this Harsha on the bank of this river Narmada and stopped his southern expedition. And we know about this from this eye-hole inscription which talk about this achievement of Pulkesin II, and it was written by this court scholar in the court of Pulkesin II, that is Ravi Kirti. That is Ravi Kirti. So remember, these are the important points about this Harsha. So after this Gupta, we have this political instability, but then we have this rule of Harsha in the first half of this 7th century. So when Harsha was ruling, either he has defeated this ruler or some of them became his allies like Bhaskar Varman. So his southern expedition was stopped by this Pulkesin II, who was this Western Chalukya ruler. And we know about this from this eye-hole inscription written by this Ravi Kirti. So who was this Ravi Kirti? Ravi Kirti was court scholar in the court of this Pulkesin II. And we have already discussed about these three important plays written by this Harsha. Which are these? NPR, National Population Register. So N for Nagananda, P for, what is this P? Priyadarsika, and R for Ratnavali. Nagananda, Priyadarsika, and then Ratnavali. Now tell me, who wrote this Allahabad pillar inscription? Who is the author of this Allahabad pillar inscription? Who is the author of this Allahabad pillar inscription? Who is the author of this Allahabad pillar inscription? Just give me a second. So now we will discuss about this South Indian Kingdom. I already told you, in the South Indian Kingdom we are going to discuss about only this chronology, but if you understand this chronology, just read from your side this political history, means some important events plus literature during this time, that is important scholar and their literature. So we will take just 2 minutes of break and we will continue with this South Indian Kingdom. So should we start this South Indian Kingdom? Now tell me, in the north part of India, in which century Harsha was ruling? In which century Harsha was ruling? 15 minutes. Rishikesh, 15 minutes. We need just 15 minutes. So if you consider this is 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1000, 1100, 1200, 1300, like this. Yes, 7th century. So if you consider this is 500, 500 plus means this is 6th century, this is 7th century, this is 8th century, 9th century, 10th century, 11th century, this is 12th century, 13th century, right? So if you consider this 800 plus means 9th century, 900 plus means 10th century. So in the north part of India, in this 7th century, particularly this 606 to 647, we have this Harsha. 606 to 647, we have this Harsha, period of Harsha. Now we will discuss who were ruling in the south part of India, starting from this Deccan. So if you consider this part of Deccan means Maharashtra, Karnataka and all these there, we will discuss here who was ruling during this period was Chalukyas of Badami. So if you consider this Chalukyas of Badami from this 6th century to 8th century, means from mid 6th approximately to this mid 8th century, we have this Chalukyas of Badami. Remember, we have this Chalukyas ruling from this Badami. Today we call this place as a Badami. At that period it was called as Vatapi. We have this Chalukyas of Badami or Vatapi, and who was this founder of this Chalukyas of Badami? Remember, Pulkesin first. So Pulkesin first around this mid 6th century founded this dynasty Chalukyas of Badami, and it continued to rule till this 757. It continued to rule this 757 CE. So around this 757 CE, the last ruler of this Chalukyas of Badami or Chalukyas of Vatapi was defeated by this Danti Durga. So this Kirti Varman II, he was defeated by this Danti Durga. And who was this Danti Durga? Remember, Danti Durga was the feudatory of Chalukyas of Badami. So he was this feudatory of this Chalukyas of Badami. But once this Chalukyas of Badami were in the declining phase, when they were not strong, this Danti Durga defeated this last ruler of this Chalukyas of Badami, that is Kirtivarman, and established this Rashtrakud dynasty. And this Rashtrakud dynasty continued from this 757 CE to this 973. So from this mid 8th century till this mid 10th century. So from 757 to this 973, we have this Rashtrakutas. So even after this 973, we have this Rashtrakutas, but these were not powerful after that. So if you consider from this 6 to 8, means mid 6 to mid 8, we have this Chalukyas of Badami or Vatapi, and now we have this Rashtrakud ruling from this Manyakhet. Ruling from this Manyakhet or Mankhed. Ruling from this Manyaket or Manked. And who was this founder of this Rashtrakoot? Remember this Danti Durga. So we have this founder of this Chalukyas of Badami or Vatapi, that is Pulkesin first. Here we have this Danti Durga. So this Danti Durga, they defeated this last Chalukyas of Badami ruler, that is Kirtivarman, and established this Rashtrakoot dynasty. So from the 6th century to 8th century, we have this Chalukyas of Badami, mean mid 6th to mid 8th, and from this mid 8th to mid 10th century, means till this 973, we have this Rashtrakoot. And here in this 973, remember this ruler Tailap II. Now this ruler Tailap II. Who was this Tailap II? Now this Tailap II was this feudatories of this Rashtrakoot, and he has defeated this not last, but this Karka II. You don't have to remember this ruler, but now he has defeated this ruler of this Rashtrakoot and started this Western Chalukyas of Kalyani. So initially we have this Chalukyas of Badami or Western Chalukyas of Badami, then we have this Rashtrakoot, and now we have this Western Chalukyas of Kalyani, and they ruled till this 12th century. By the end of this 12th century, so till this end or later part of this 12th century, we have this Western Chalukyas of Kalyani. So basically they were ruling from this Kalyani, means modern day Basav Kalyan. So from this 973 till this later part of this 12th century. So if you consider this part of Maharashtra, Karnataka, some part of this Telangana, here initially we have this Chalukyas of Badami, then we have this Rashtrakoot, and then we have this Western Chalukyas of Kalyani. Who was this founder of this Chalukyas of Badami? Pulkesin first. Who was this founder of this Rashtrakoot? Danti Durga. And who was this founder of this Western Chalukyas of Kalyani? Tailap II. Now tell me, is it clear for everyone? Is it clear for everyone? So here this Danti Durga defeated this Kirtivarman II. Here this Tailap II defeated this Karka II. Karka II. But now tell me, who was ruling from this in this North India in the first half of the 7th century? Harsha was ruling. Now tell me, when Harsha was ruling in this north part of India in this first half of this 7th century, who was ruling in this Chalukyas? Who was this ruler of this Chalukyas? We have just discussed. Yes, Pulkesin. So remember, now during this time, here we have this Pulkesin II. So this Pulkesin II was ruling in the 7th century, and around this 610, now he has also conquered this region of Andhra Pradesh, region of Vengai during this time, that is Godavari Krishna Valley, and here he has appointed his brother as a governor and started this Eastern Chalukyas of Vengai. So this Pulkesin II, he has conquered this region of Vengai, means present day region of Andhra Pradesh, this Godavari Krishna Valley, and he started this new dynasty, means he has appointed his brother, that is he has appointed his brother in this region and started this Eastern Chalukyas of Vengai. So after this Pulkesin II, this Eastern Chalukyas of Vengai declared their independence. So here we have this Eastern Chalukyas of Vengai. So if you consider this Western Chalukyas of Badami, then Rashtrakoot, then Western Chalukyas of Kalyani, and this Eastern Chalukyas of Vengai, so they have covered this part of Maharashtra, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, Telangana. So they have covered this entire region, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka and Telangana. So Eastern Chalukyas of Vengai, after this Pulkesin II death, they have declared their independence, and they also continue till this end or this later part of this 12th century. 12th century. During the same period, in the north part of this Tamil Nadu, means overall in the southern part, but in the north part of this Tamil Nadu, we have this Pallavas from this 4th century. We have this Pallavas from this 4th century till this beginning of 10th century or the end of this 9th century. So we have this Pallavas till this beginning of 10th century. Remember, though they were continuous from this 4th century till this 10th century. This Pallavas became prominent in this 6th century under this Simha Vishnu. Under this Simha Vishnu, but you don't have to remember the name of this Simha Vishnu, you have to remember this name of these two important rulers who were contemporary to this Harsha. So here we have this Harsha from 606 to 647, where we have this Harsha in this same period of time from this 610 to 642, we have this Pulkesin II. During the same period of time, if you consider this Pallavas, it was ruled by this Mahendravarman from 600 to 630, means first 30 year in the 7th century was ruled by this Mahendravarman, and then we have this Narsimhavarman next 40 years 630 to 668. So remember this Harsha ruling from this 606 to 647, then Pulkesin II ruling from this 610 to 642, and then Mahendravarman and Narsimhavarman. All these were contemporary rulers, and during this time this Huyen Tsang visited this India. Huyen Tsang visited India. Is it clear for everyone? Tell me. Other than Tripti, Fatima and Rishikesh? Other members find it difficult or confusing? So remember, in this Deccan region, Maharashtra, then Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Telangana, we have this Chalukyas of Badami, then Rashtrakutas, then Western Chalukyas of Kalyani, and here we have this Eastern Chalukyas of Vengai. Similarly, in this north part of Tamil Nadu, we have this Pallavas ruling from this 3rd century to this early 10th century, by the end of this 9th century or early 10th century. And here, if you consider in the region of this Kaveri Delta, in this region of this Kaveri Valley, ruling from this Tanjore, you will see this emergence of Cholas by the end of this 9th century. So by this end of this 9th century, you have this Cholas. And who was this founder of this Chola now? During this time, Cholas were ruling from this Tanjore. And who was this founder? Founder was this Vijayalaya. So remember, this Cholas or this Vijayalaya. So this Vijayalaya, he was this feudatory of this Pallavas, but now he declared their independence and started this Chola dynasty. And this successor of this Vijayalaya, that is Aditya I, he was the one who was responsible for this end of Pallavas. So now this Aditya I defeated this last Pallava ruler. Remember the name Aparajit. So he is calling himself Aparajit, but he was defeated by this Aditya I, and that was end of this Pallavas. So who was this last ruler? Aparajit. And this Aparajit was defeated by this Chola king Aditya I. Aditya I. Aditya I. Aditya I. So remember, during the same period, we have this Pandyas also ruling from this 4th century in the South India, in south part of Tamil Nadu, till this 14th century. So Pandyas were continuous there. From 3rd to 4th century till this 14th century, remember, with this emergence of these Cholas, there was end of Pallavas and decline of Pandyas. So when these Cholas were powerful, these Pandyas were not that powerful. But in this 13th century, now this Pandya ruler Mahavarman Kulsekar defeated this Rajendra Chola III, who was this last ruler. Rajendra Chola III, who was this last ruler. Remember, in these Cholas, you have to remember who was this founder of these Cholas, Vijayalaya. Then Aditya first defeated this last ruler of this Pallavas, that is Aparajit, and most important ruler of this Chola dynasty were Rajaraja Chola and then Rajendra Chola. So in this 13th century, now this Pandya ruler Mahavarman Kulsekar defeated this Rajendra Chola III and ended this Chola dynasty. So if you consider in this south part of Tamil Nadu, who was ruling, this Pandyas were ruling. So with this emergence of these Cholas, there was end of Pallavas and decline of Pandyas. So this Pallavas ended around this end of this 9th century or beginning of this 10th century. At the same time, these Pandyas were not powerful. But in the 13th century, now Pandyas have defeated this and ended this Chola dynasty. And they continue to rule till this 14th century. They continue to rule this 14th century. So if you consider this south part, we have this Pandyas. But now who was ruling from this 12th to this 14th century? From this Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra and then Karnataka region. So if you consider in the Maharashtra, now from this 12th to 14th century, we have this Yadavs. Yadavs of Devgiri. We have this Yadavs of Devgiri. Then if you consider this present part of this Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, we have this Kakatiyas. Kakatiyas were ruling from this Warangal. Kakatiyas were ruling from this Warangal. Kakatiyas were ruling from this Warangal, and in the Karnataka, we have this Hoysalas ruling from this Dwarsamudra. Hoysalas ruling from this Dwarsamudra. So remember, this is an important part of this chronology of South Indian Kingdom. So if you consider this Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, from the 6th century to 12th century, we have this 6 to 8 Chalukyas of Badami, 8 to 10 in general, approximate I am taking Rashtrakutas, and then 10 to 12 we have this Western Chalukyas of Kalyani. So this is not exact, but in general. And parallelly in this region of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, we have this particularly this coastal part of Andhra Pradesh, we have this Eastern Chalukyas of Vengai. But in the South India, we have this continuous Pandya from this 4th century to this 14th century. And in the northern part of this Tamil Nadu, first we have this Pallavas and later we have this Cholas. So with the emergence of Cholas, there was end of this Pallavas and decline of Pandyas. But Pandyas in the South India continue till this 14th century. But here in this north, we have seen till this 12th century. From this 12th to 14th, in the Maharashtra, we have this Yadavs of Devgiri. In this Karnataka region, we have this Hoysalas of Dwarsamudra. And in this region of this Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, we have this Kakatis of Warangal. Is it clear for everyone? So now what you have to do is, I have explained about this in general timeline, their founder and important event. So if you consider, we have this Harsha, Pulkesin II and Mahendravarman Narasimhavarman. So this Pulkesin II defeated this Mahendravarman, but during the time of this Narasimhavarman, now Narasimhavarman defeated this Pulkesin II. Narasimhavarman defeated this Pulkesin II. He occupied this Badami or Vatpi and he has killed this Pulkesin II. That's why he was called as conqueror of Vatapi, means Vatapi Konda. So he has taken these two titles, Narasimhavarman. Mamalla means wrestler and Vatapi Konda means conqueror of this Vatapi. So you just have to read political history, some important facts along with during this time scholars and their literature. So during this time you will find this many Kannada literature, many Jain literature during this time. So you just have to read about this scholars and their literature. So remember, I promised to complete this ancient and this early part of medieval in this 12 hours, but we have expanded till this 14 or 15 hours. So whatever may be this number of hours, independent of this number of hours, we have completed this ancient history in too much detail, like covering this most part of this ancient history holistically, whatever is important from this chapter, which chapter where they are focusing on this concept, we have discussed this concept, where they are just focusing on some of these sites or facts, we have discussed about these sites and facts. So remember, now I have given my best, my team has given my best to prepare you these notes, to prepare these PPTs, to give this crystal clear explanation. Now it's up to you to take this maximum benefit of this course and give your best in the exam. So remember, whenever you have this any doubt, you can directly message me. I have given you this number, WhatsApp number, as well as on this Telegram ID. So if you have any doubt, you can directly message. And for your upcoming exam, don't skip any static portion from any subject, specifically this history, geography and polity. So if you have this history, geography and polity, this PYQs, year wise, chapter wise, do attend this PYQs. So PYQs are guiding star for you, and don't make any mistake from this static. So if you consider history, chapters are unpredictable, but the questions are easy. But if you consider this polity, chapters are predictable, questions are moderate to difficult, but still these are solvable, as well as you can predict, like constitutional amendment, governor, speakers of Lok Sabha, officers of parliament, then president. So basically, in some subjects there is high predictability but difficult question, but in the subject like history, predictability is less but questions are easy. So just give your best for this next few days and wish you all the best. So regarding this modern, if we have any update, I will update on this Telegram ID as well as in our WhatsApp channel. So I wish you all the best, and tomorrow we will upload these notes on this PM5S application, and next week or this Sunday you will have this test based on whatever we have discussed in this lecture. So I wish you all the best and bye.